Yes, yes, yes. It is the Castworthy podcast, and we are back. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined by the VP and EJ, the Savage. It is Sunday, April 24th, and we're here to discuss some things with you. So, if you're listening, before we get started, if you're on Facebook, you can comment and we can interact with you. Same thing with YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can drop a comment and we'll see it and we can interact and respond, reply, etc. Tell us how nasty EJ is if you're watching and listening. We know,
Wow.
but if they can hear it from your viewers, it'd be great. Um,
That's crazy.
what you fellas been up to, man? How's the week been?
I let VP start. He's always got a more interesting week than me.
Oh nah, man. I'm this week's actually been just chilling basically. We're recovering post surgery, so you know, not really no highlights.
Nothing too crazy.
Very good. Glad she's
No, no,
covered and
no,
everything.
no. No, 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 no. Don't you deflect, EJ. I want to know how your week has been.
Mine ain't been nothing
Nah, I'm
nothing to highlight, man.
just giving you a hard time, man.
I know, per the usual.
Yeah, you strapping up?
My couch pulls out. Not me. Ah, boy.
Eventful, uneventful, kind of slow week. Nothing too crazy going on. It's like that calm before the storm, in between Easter and Memorial Day. It seems like people kind of get their spring cleaning done, and it's relaxed, chill time, enjoy the weather. And then Memorial Day comes, and then it's all out warfare because summer's here, and we're seeing that everywhere we look, no matter what it is, there are no masks. I've been watching NBA playoffs. Like you might see that one dude that's commentating, or one dude that's in the media that got his mask on because he understands reality. But shit's crazy.
People
It's real in the
Yeah,
outside,
field.
man. They outside, man. They tired of this shit. They said either get rid of student loans or we sending the shit back up.
I'm outside. I'm outside too, but when I'm inside, I put a mask on because I
right,
understand. I understand reality, and I
right.
just don't want to get sick. Like I'm lucky, man, and I have to assume, right? There's been so many people that have caught it that a lot of people are probably like, I've had it. Well, what's the worst that could happen? I get it again. You know, I've been lucky. I'm trying to knock on wood and stay one of those that don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're vaxxed and boosted, even if you catch it, you should still be okay. Emphasis on should, you know what I mean? But you still should do whatever you got to do to mitigate the chances of you getting it, which is what the whole purpose of masking is to just all it is just putting more layers of protection, between you and the virus. So am I going to avoid crowded spaces? If I'm in a crowded space, am I going to wear a mask? Am I vaccinated? All those kind of things to put roadblocks between the virus and your system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, listen, I don't judge any. Let me not say I don't judge. I don't blame anyone that isn't um isn't doing it. Getting back to some normalcy feels good. Like when I am out and I don't have my mask on, actually being able to see people's faces and facial expressions. It makes a difference in the world. You know what I'm saying? When you can see other people smile versus just fucking canvases over their face. It's just how we are as humans. So it is good to see that and to get that aspect back. You know.
It's becoming also more of a social uh conscious and then a social anxiety type. It's going in different ways because I've seen people get on the train and not have a mask on, and then look around and it might be a car with like 3 or 4 people or majority of people masked up, and then they just looking at them and they like, oh shit, I do have my mask. Let me put it on since all y'all
Hmm.
niggas got it on, you know. And then there's other then there's other dudes, the 35 white dude, 35-year-old white dude, you know, dressed in the suit, got his joint, no mask, looking at the whole car like, and you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's you know, it's crazy. But you know, this weekend in the UK, you had over 94,000 people, man, for this Tyson Fury Dillian White fight. Not a mask in sight, B.
Yeah,
Not a
I've been
mask in
saying
sight.
this. I've been saying the same thing watching the playoff games. You know, they show the audience. I'm like, it's barely any mass. You're in this crowd of 20, 30,000 people. You know, so people act like like it's just over. You know, like I saw a video on Twitter of these not pilots, but like flight attendants, like one of the videos was posted like shortly after the judge made that ruling saying that the CDC's mask regulation on planes or on public transit period was unconstitutional and struck it down nationally. And I guess the airlines has sent out notification like across the country. And the
That
person comes
morning.
on like, we just got a ruling. You no longer have to wear masks. So if you want to, take them off. You know, and they all people cheering and they ripping the mask off and shit. And then I saw a second video of this Southwest Airlines pilot, a black dude, walking down the middle of the aisle with a trash bag, singing about like no mask and shit. And I'm like, I can remember, you know, long time ago, back in March of 2022, when all these flights got canceled because there was a pilot and flight attendant shortage due to COVID. You know, so I mean, I know March 22 was a long time ago, but still,
Yeah.
and for the people who didn't catch that, March 22 was last month.
It's tough, man. People, you know, like Steve said, people want some normalcy, man. And, you know, we're all about our freedoms and civil liberties. And not only that, man, you know, some people like, you know what? Yeah, I can go today from taking a shit the wrong way. So I'm gonna have some fun. So, you know, it's double edged sword, you know. Double
Yeah,
edged
yeah,
sword.
yeah. No, of course you got to get out, man. I mean, it's been 2 years. We've been locked up, chained up. Not literally, but you get the point of it, getting out and stuff. But you still got to be responsible. You know what I'm saying? For
Right.
you and for people around you. That's all. Um,
And that's my whole thing, right? I'm not saying like don't go anywhere. I'm saying when you go out, wear a mask, be responsible, take care of yourself and your fellow man. That's all I'm saying, because there are people out there who can't be vaccinated. They're immunocompromised. My wife's friend, who passed recently from cancer,
Mm.
she spent the whole time not going anywhere because she's like, I'm in chemo. I can't get sick because my immune system is so weakened right now. So I'm just staying home. I'm not going out or whatever. If we had people who were more responsible, folk like that can say, you know what, I'm gonna go out and enjoy a meal at the restaurant, or I'm gonna go to the park or whatever, instead of being locked up in their house. But they have to try to protect themselves from everybody else who's like, man, people just ready to get out. It's been 2 years, and then when people say that it's been 2 years, like it's been so long, they say that as if there aren't 40, 30, 40 million Americans out there who are purposely making this shit take too long. It's not like we haven't been doing everything that we can to combat the virus and we're just losing the battle. We're doing everything that we can with a fucking, 30, 40, 30, 40 million brain dead motherfuckers who want to pretend like the virus isn't happening or it isn't that bad only for political reasons.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, this thing, really could have probably been in a better spot or in this space probably a year ago if it was taken seriously from the beginning. And if it wasn't, I've said it and I continue to say it is, nobody cares about being right and wrong anymore. It's all about being right and left. And, when you're on one side of the fence, you feel like you're betraying, your family and your family's honor, just by saying, there might be some truth to this shit. And that's both sides of the fence. I'm not going to say it's just one side. It just so happens that some of the stuff that's, on one side of the fence versus the other seems to be a little more ethical and more specific to us, the middle class and lower, and of course, brown people.
Indeed.
But neither here nor there. We'll it's just, you got to continue to watch it and monitor it. The news has lost interest in it because there's no value to it anymore, right? Because people are kind of striking it down, and the numbers aren't as high as they once were. Still growing, but not at an extreme rapid pace like it was. And so, they're just like whatever. And it's because people don't see it on the news, they think it's not real anymore. So and they use that as ammo to say, oh yeah, no, look, it Fauci was wrong and blah 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 blah. So it is what it is, man. Keep monitoring it and do what's right for your people, your family. And if you think it's a hoax and you get sick and die, like there was a dude recently that just died from it, that was like a huge naysayer. I have to look it up. And if that's the case and that's the way you go, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Cold blooded. Cold blooded.
I can't blame or disagree with that, man. The information's out there, so if you choose to ignore it or pretend that it doesn't exist, if you decide that, in order to prevent myself from getting sick, I'm going to take medication that's for horses and cows, like that's on you.
I heard that.
Yo,
Heard that horse tranquilizer is good stuff though.
makes you feel good, makes you feel real good.
Oh Lord.
Yo, on
There goes
another
the
note,
YouTube algorithm.
boom, we about to get 50,000 followers just from that. Uh, on another note, man, there's been a lot going on, man. This world, as you get back to it, you see how nasty this world is. I've been watching some stuff that we're gonna get to and talk about, but like the Johnny Depp trial, watching that is just nasty time. Uh, man, Mike Tyson. Somebody decided it was cool to go ahead and, somebody clout chasing. They kind of knew that, Mike has a short temper, man. Like, this guy has a short temper, so you out for the paycheck. And if you guys saw it, this guy was heckling, and then we'll get into that now, I guess. Guys heckling him on the plane. First of all, my question is, why is Mike Tyson flying JetBlue? Like, dog, JetBlue? Come on, man. He frugal as hell.
I mean, he ain't rich like that no more.
Yes, he
Like,
is. Yes, he
no,
is.
I mean, I'm talking about like '90s rich.
He still
He's
got
probably
dough.
richer.
Yeah,
His
he's got hella
podcasts and all
money
that
from
shit.
from the
Yeah,
cannabis investments, everything he's
yeah.
been doing. Mike
Like,
has got bread, man.
listen,
No, I'm
he
not.
don't gotta have his own jet, but he could take a
Yeah.
charter. Like,
No,
I'm not
I'm.
taking
What I'm
JetBlue if
saying
I'm Mike
is,
Tyson.
I'm saying like, I'm not saying he don't got like millions at this point. He's resurrected his career financially, but it ain't like how it was when he was boxing, where I think he made like something like $200 million or something like that
Yeah, well, he
at the
didn't
at
have
the
it. He
height.
didn't have it then.
No,
To
no
be,
doubt. I mean,
you know,
it was the purse gets split up or whatever, but
yeah,
you
but
know, but some of it I think because I said the same thing with not that I'm not gonna change topic. I just saw this happen with Bill O'Reilly. He was flying somewhere. I think he was going to like Turks and Caicos or some shit, and he was flying on JetBlue, and he was going ham on the gate agent because the flight got delayed, as if like that person's responsible for what time the flight comes and goes. And he's, I'm
oh,
gonna get you
shit.
fired. No, 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 no. Like, I mean, going off, and I'm thinking like, why the fuck is Bill O'Reilly flying on JetBlue? Like, this motherfucker was making like 20-something million dollars a year when he was at Fox News. I
Right,
mean, I know he's been off the air like 3 years, but damn, you know.
right.
So
The only explanation for something like that is like, let's say you got to make a emergency flight out somewhere, and there's no charters going to a specific area. But in most cases, guys like that they got business cards of people that own private jets, and usually you can get somebody on the horn and be like, "Yo, let me let me
You know,
let me pay you
flying
something."
private is, I guess they don't, I guess the prices went up. That 20K a flight starting to add up, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Yeah.
doubt, no doubt. But if I'm Mike Tyson, I'm not. I am not going on Jet. Like me, I take JetBlue, like me, and I work.
Yeah.
I work every day 9 to 5. So Mike Tyson shouldn't be taking JetBlue.
Yeah. But
Well,
I mean, he might also be like, I remember back when I made that $200 million off those purses, and that I was flying on Spirit, and now I done got some back, so I ain't trying to lose it. So JetBlue, here we go. You know what I mean?
and I mean, you should be able to, you should be able to today's day and age as a celebrity fly without two dickheads, heckling you, and
Agree.
you know, luckily for them, he was able to walk away from the ass whooping that he
Right.
got. That was
Luckily,
the
it was
thing that
a
I was
confined
talking about.
space.
Yeah, because yeah, we've seen the damage that man could really do. Um, you know, but clearly at that point it was just we see what they were on, and it's just unfortunate that he had to go through that. I'm not even gonna say short temper, man. Because we can't see everything that happened from one point to another point. And these dudes messing with Mike Tyson. Clearly, you got an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Like I wish there were other people on the flight that might have been able to intervene with these guys, but you know they
Yeah.
they lucky he wasn't outside the gate with that bullshit.
Or he didn't
Yeah.
wait outside the gate. Cause if he could have cocked back,
Right.
man, it'd have been nasty. But his publicist came out, and in the statement, they alleged that the person threw a bottle of water at Mike Tyson because he was trying to get his attention after heckling him because he was ignoring him, which at that point, changes the scope a little bit versus just Mike having a fucking a temper tantrum, turning around and hitting this guy. Now you've entered, not only entered my personal space, but now you have, used a weapon, what could be used as a weapon to try and harm me or do damage. I mean, at least in the court of law, it works that way for white people, right?
You violated, and at that point in time, it is what it is. Like Mike, I had no doubt in my mind that Mike was justified in this situation off the top that these dudes were heckling Mike Tyson. Like you're just asking for it, and whether it's Mike Tyson or any other citizen, that shit. If it was any other citizen, there might have been a fight long before that. Mike has to probably exercise more restraint than the average person.
And if it was any other citizen, they probably would have been arrested once that plane landed.
That too. That too. Um,
Kind of goes back to my Will Smith thing.
but that takes me to a place where, looking at what happened with Tyson, and it takes me to a place where, I made a mention in our chat about, athletes in general. Like, and
Mhm.
this is kind of off base a little bit because Mike's not an active athlete. They weren't in the space of, his workspace or anything like that, but we're seeing more and more of these interaction with the athletes, where they're turning into real negative situations. So like we saw Kyrie was floating the middle finger at people. Recently we saw I forget the dude's name that plays for Portland. Nurkic take a cell phone and throw it. We saw the thing with Ronaldo. And then
Mhm.
most recently, the one that made me post it was Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson is a baseball player, and actually, even beyond that, Tim Anderson, he's a baseball player. He's not even an outfielder, so he's not even close to the fans. You know what I'm saying? But he's an infielder. He was batting. Guess he's in a slump. Fan said something to him. He flips the bird. He gets suspended. And then yesterday, we saw the Yankee fans, some nasty New Yorkers, that were throwing trash at an outfielder that plays for the Cleveland Guardians. And I'm wondering, like, is this now the Yankee thing is a little different because there was something there with them throwing stuff at him, but these athletes, are they soft? Like, are fans worse now? Like, what do you guys think?
I mean, me personally, I think it's a little bit of both, but I would put more emphasis on the fans being nastier. I mean, if you think, you know, 60 years ago, people used to go to baseball games in suit and ties, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and now, I mean, you look at motherfuckers showing up, dressed like they're in some kind of fucking post-apocalyptic world, and face paint and shoulder pads with spikes. And I get it, like, some people are just diehards, et cetera, right? But I mean, fans are going to games and, getting out of pocket. And I'm not saying that some of the stuff that happens is justified, where, somebody takes somebody's phone and throw it or whatever the fuck, but I mean, you think about the fan who told LeBron that he wished that his kid died. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so these fans are getting crazy. And then on the athlete side, I think it's also partly because, and we've had this conversation online and off, in reference, like, to LeBron, like whether or not, we think he's mentally tough and that kind of thing, like that, and in comparison to like Jordan, Kobe, and shit like that. And I always bring up the fact of when Jordan played, there was no social media, right? So you go play the game, you listen to the crowd, boo, cheer, depending on if you home or away. And maybe when you're walking out, the fans, who they let along like the rope line, on the way to the bus, that kind of thing, like that. And then that's it. You move on, you go home, you go play golf, what I mean, whatever. But now with social media, fans have access to players 24/7 a day, and they say, "Oh, I don't look at my mentions. I'm not on blah blah blah." But I think that's bullshit for the most part, because these dudes are brands, and they have to be on social media at some point to do some of the things that they do. If not personally, then somebody who they pay to do it for them, to manage the social media. You know what I mean? So with these fans who get just crazy. I mean, on the internet, you can Google and find anybody's address. So I mean, I'm pretty sure like motherfuckers are mailing shit to their houses and shit like that. Whereas, back in the '90s, it was a little bit harder to get direct communication, regardless of how you did it, whether it was phone, mail, whatever, to an athlete. Whereas now, it's at the tip of your finger, and I think that plays a role.
I think it's neither the fans nor the athlete, but I think Vari's right in the social media aspect. I think the only difference is we see it and we're more sensitive to it. And I say that because, regarding male VP, Reggie Miller played in the state of Indiana his entire career, probably one of the best pacers, if not the greatest pacer of our time, and documented on documentary saying, I got hate mail from my own fans all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
going back to Malice in the Palace, what I mean? We had the ultimate, you know, uh example of when a fan took it too far, threw the beer, and then the athlete went to whoop ass.
The
And
wrong
then
ass at that.
yeah, and then we talking about then we talking about 60 years ago in baseball. I mean, we forget just 75 years ago this year, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. So, black athletes were getting called nigger and everything else under the sun. And even in the 90s and the 2000s, you have documented times where a lot of the black outfielders are talking about the shit that fans are saying
Yeah.
in the stands. And I can guarantee you those Yankees fans that were throwing trash, they're probably from Staten Island, and for those who, and I'm speculating, but I'm quite sure, man, as a Yankees, Mets, Jets, Knicks fan, I'm quite sure that a lot of them probably did drop the N bomb, because if you go to these games, some of these people extremely racist, they don't give a shit, and they're saying whatever out there. So I don't think it's the fans or the athletes. I just think we're seeing it more in the NBA. I mean, you can go back to stories of Larry Bird and Jordan saying how people were saying crazy shit like that to them. And it may be compounded, like VP saying that, they're not getting this shit every day when they wake up and turn on their phones because they didn't have it. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. And I think the sport matters too. Football players, they don't really have access to the fans as much.
Right.
NBA, you're right there on the court. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Jordan said wild shit back to fans back in the day. We just don't have somebody capturing it, on social media to be like, oh, look at Devin Booker's,
Everybody.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at what
Everybody didn't
Devin
have a
Booker
camera
just
phone.
said. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure in the garden in the 90s, the things people were saying to Jordan were absurd. So I think to your biggest point, VP, I think social media is the biggest difference for me and the access to us knowing what they're saying. Because Bill Russell, if you ask Bill Russell how he feels about this shit, he gonna be like, "What, Kyrie? You
Yeah.
know what they said to me? Are you
Yeah.
crazy?" And they were
Shout out
Boston
to Bill
fans.
Russell at that. Bill
And
Russell just had a game worn jersey go for 1.4 million. So shout out to him
y-
since you brought him up.
damn. And EJ, on the mail thing, what I meant, and I'm not disagreeing with everything you said, but the only distinction I would make is that what I meant was like when you look at like a
Technology.
Reggie Miller, for example, getting mail, like most back then, I mean, if fans were sending mail, they were sending to like some fan mailbox, Indiana Pacer fan,
Nah,
123 Main Street,
nah.
and I'm not saying like stuff didn't come to his house. I'm not saying at all. The point I'm making is though now I could go on Google and type LeBron's James address,
No, no, no.
boom,
You're
and you
right.
know what I
You're
mean, and
right.
then start
And
sending
we
shit
still.
straight to his crib.
I mean, we still be too, yeah, and I mean that's also the other problem. We've always had access, and I get it. It's much easier now, but the phone books and so Reggie used to get shit directly in his mailbox, and I get what you're saying, the level of ease of locating that, but the premise, being still this, and let's think about it. The crazy part about his story, he was getting it from his own fans.
Yeah,
That
and
was the,
and and
the
that's
nuts part about it.
right, and that's kind of the point I was trying to make. Right, is that like here in Orlando, right, at my last job, part of the route that I did on my last job, I used to drive by Dwight Howard's house like almost daily up in when he lived up in Lake Mary, right, and so here in Orlando, yeah, I know where Dwight Howard lives. You see what I'm saying? But if I'm a fan here in Orlando, I can't be like, yo, I'm about to send John Moran some shit. You know what I mean? Like if this is back in
Right.
the 90s, I would have to put in some work to figure out where this motherfucker lives. You know what I'm saying? But now I can just go on Google and be like, John Moran address. Boop. 123 Main Street, you know, and then send him some
Yeah.
shit. You see what I'm saying? That's
No,
the point
I
I was
get
trying to
that.
make.
Yeah, I got that part. I'm just saying
Okay.
the premise of the fans, the nature of the fans. Like we're talking about the access and level of ease, which I get is obviously probably easier now, but the nature of the fans to be bold enough to send that hasn't changed.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think you got the when you talk about social media, I think more so everything is accessible on the internet, like personal stuff, like versus like address and stuff. But like your personal life nowadays, everybody wants to break a story. You got people like you got a media monster like TMZ who's breaking fucking people's deaths before their family knows it. You know what I'm saying? You got TMZ dropping shit. They this person had a fight with their wife or their significant other, like something so intimate, that the fans see, and then they know they're going to the game, and then they heckle based on something like that. So I think the heckling is probably stepped up a bit because they have more access, but then also, still the fans have to, or the athletes got to have some restraint. Like you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars, you can't deal with somebody saying something mean or nasty to you. Like you're willing to throw away a fucking bag over somebody saying something, somebody that means absolutely nothing to you, telling you you suck or some dumb shit like that.
No,
like
I
there's
disagree with that.
there's extremes like the LeBron thing when they said I hope Bronny gets into a car accident and dies. Like that's a different extreme. And LeBron still had some restraint to the point where he just had the guy removed. He didn't go over and fucking get in his face. He didn't do nothing nasty. Like LeBron handled himself the right way. These guys, like, if you know that you're gonna like Kyrie got fined something like $25,000 just for sticking his middle finger up. Like, I'm not throwing 25K away on something stupid just because you said I suck. You know what I'm saying? Because you said that I'm trash or I'm an unvaxxed piece of shit or something like that. Like I'm not doing that.
No, I hear what you're saying, Steve, and we're looking at it from our standpoint of people who are just you got regular jobs and shit, so we're like 25 grand. Hell not me, not today, but also the reason I say I disagree is that I think that you're right overall, right? But at the
And I
same
usually
time,
am.
at the same time, um, we have to acknowledge that the type of shit that these fans do, this stuff has a cumulative effect. You know what I mean? And it gets compounded where city after city after city. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get some hate when you go on the road, right? And even you're gonna get a little bit of hate at home, but not as much. You know, and but then when you add in the social media and people just going ham and then you're not playing well, that and especially now that you see a focus on like mental health and things like that or whatever, you know, that stuff has an impact on people, like imagine if like, and that's why I brought up the thing when we talked about Baker Mayfield, when I was like, he went on that podcast and was like, I wish I could just go to somebody's job and go to their cubicle and just talk shit about what they're doing all day, you know. And one, the shit was kind of fucking, like he mentions like a cubicle because he's trying to say like you broke motherfucker, you know what I mean? And then, but imagine like if you did something all day, and the person is just like, Steve, that report that you did, hey, what's up with this? Oh man, that's fucked up. You didn't put the double space, you know. Yeah, you didn't put that semicolon there. Yo, what the fuck are you doing? That over and over and over and over again, night in,
For
night out.
$40 million, I'll take that shit every day, all day. Pause. Like, give it to me. Whatever you got, you give me $40 million a year. Listen, man. The worst. What's the worst you could say?
But to some degree, these athletes are a little different too, because one, they're getting paid more. Two, a lot of them too have grown up in a space where they haven't been very socially interactive with people. You look at Kyrie, you don't see this type shit from a guy like a Melo, because Melo's trajectory to where he is now wasn't always, roses and silver spoons. He had to grow up in the projects in Brooklyn and then moving to Baltimore. So he's had socially different experiences where there's some guys that were put in the lab since they were small. They've been on this AAU thing, in an environment where everyone's telling them they're cool, they're good all the time. So I
Mhm.
mean, some of these guys are just built differently. You know what I'm saying? So that plays a factor too.
It does. It does. But you still. I mean, listen, man. Um, there still needs to be a level of like these are just fans, and if there's not, right, because think about think about yesterday, right, with the Yankees. They start throwing trash. One of the outfielders climbs halfway up the outfield wall. Luckily, that wall out there is high, but if that's not a high wall, who knows like how what could have happened. And now you're talking about potentially another malice at the palace because the other outfielder is standing on the field like, come down, come get some. You know what I'm saying? What if 10 of them niggas jump down? 20, 50, right? Then that turns into 100 to 200 to 300, right? Now you have another situation, and you're talking about New York City. New York City cops, first of all, they don't police right, you know. Second of all, there's not enough. Same thing that happened at Astroworld. There's just not enough. Like, you can't, you put enough in there to prevent extreme shit, but you don't have enough to stop 1,000 people from coming down and trying to beat up a baseball player. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
this goes back to the question VPO or y'all. I think it's either you or VP always ask, how the fuck are they getting allowed to do this? Where's the
that
person
too,
that typically stands there to ensure that no
right?
one is doing shit like that?
The
You know?
ushers, because
Yeah.
when you go to these games, the ushers are fucking 85, 75-year-old people that been there forever, or they're willing to take $8.50 an hour to fucking check tickets. You don't have somebody who's truly up there willing to enforce the law. And that's really what it is. They're too close, especially at basketball, right? Baseball, it's not as bad, but they still have access. If you're trying to catch a fly ball, you could potentially get harmed or hit or whatever, if you try to catch a ball over the wall. But in basketball, like we've seen just in this playoffs, three women have made their ways onto the court in three different games. Like, who's watching? Who's paying attention to this shit? This shit is out of control.
Did you would also think that since '98, the Yankees would have it figured out a little bit better, even though it's not the same stadium. It's the same problem. You know what I'm saying? Like there used to be a point in time I remember, especially after 9/11, where there was cops in the outfield bleachers. Like where you know, and again, man, I told the story of going to a Jets game, you know, drinking outside in the parking lot, and 30 other white fans around me. State trooper comes to me. You know what I mean? When it's a dude drinking beer right there. Look at the Yankees outfield fan section at that time. Number white folks. Number white folks. So you have that element where people are they culturally are already giving people a pass because they it's they're not gonna do nothing crazy. It's not gonna be nothing that. We know that's how crowd control and security and this we know that's how it goes. It has a factor because
But I mean,
all them dudes in that section was white and young, just being the guys, right? That shit would never be allowed if that was a section of black dudes.
but part of it too is that everything in this country operates on a system of norms, right? Where it's like, we just expect people to do the right thing just cuz. And
That's
then
my point.
right, and then when people get out of pocket, we have conversations like this and say, where was the usher? Where was this? Where was that? What are they doing about this? And it's because everybody, whether it's in business, government, policing, etc., they expect everybody to do the right thing just cuz. And that's not how life works, and so they need to put shit in place to make sure these things don't happen, and when they do happen that they can be stopped fairly quickly, and that person can be ejected or arrested or whatever, but they don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, the Yankee players made it from their dugout to the outfield to kind of try and slow the shit down before anybody who works there who's paid to fucking regulate that shit. Like
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
And
You know
it's
what I'm
cops.
saying?
It's cops in the outfield.
And
It's
that
you know what I mean.
and
It's
that.
cops in that stadium, all through that stadium.
right. And with the cops too, like that's, I'm glad you made that point, EJ. Like I remember, I've only been to like two or three football games like in my entire life, right? And a couple years back, Dolphins played the Bucks, so I went down to Tampa to see the game. And I mean, there were some fans, like Bucks fans, who was just going ham. Not like on us. I had on my Dolphin shirt, my hat, and shit, like but they were just like going ham like on each other because this one dude is drunk and he's like trying to get a chant going and he's like trying to get the crowd involved and people are like, man, shut the fuck up.
Hmm.
And so um next thing you know, some fans start going at it or whatever, and then the cops come down. They got there fairly quickly, which I'm like, okay, cool, they're gonna get here for a riot breaks out. I'm with it, you know. And then when the cop gets there, they start trying to eject the guy, right? And this woman stood up. This kind of goes back to that, Karen white privilege shit, and she gets up and starts exercising her privilege and telling the cops like he needs to back the fuck off. And do you know who I am? Da 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 da. I'm a season ticket holder here. And she was saying like how she knows I can't remember the name of the family that owns the Bucks, and she's friends with the chief of police, and her and the chief's wife, they go out to lunch like weekly and da 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 da. And I don't know if any of this shit is true, right? But it had an impact on the cop because at first the cop is like telling the dude like, yo, like, let's go, you're gonna get arrested, da da da. Old girl starts making noise, and then you start slowly seeing the cop like questioning, and then eventually he just pulls back and then just leaves the dude there. Now nothing popped off, right? But this is the kind of shit where the people who were there to make sure nothing goes south aren't doing the job.
And
Right.
that was what I was alluding to. I might be too far to the left pro black on this thing, but when you looked at that section of that outfield in that Yankees game, it was nothing but white folks.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that when it's us, the cops ain't too far away.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to police it better, and because it's gonna get to the point where someone gets hurt again. You know what I'm saying? And these are athletes. You know what I'm saying? They lift weights every single day. You know what I'm saying? They're in the best shape that there can be, and you got these dudes out there that are just fucking drunk. Maybe they
Couch
drink,
quarterbacks.
yeah, they drink some creatine. Maybe do 10 curls a day, 5 push-ups, and feel, like they're tough and shit.
Hmm.
Poke their chest out, and someone's gonna get out there and they're gonna get hurt because these dudes is these is big dudes, man.
Especially
Um,
baseball players.
Yeah.
especially like look at fucking Aaron Judge. Like these dudes, I don't know if I know you guys every in your life have held baseball bats, but you see these dudes grab a baseball bat and twirl the shit like a fucking baton. The
No,
average person like us that are in the stands, like it probably gonna take us 2 hands to do that the right way. You know what I'm saying? Or
I,
our wrist gonna hurt at the end of it.
I tell
So
people all the time, baseball players are the biggest athletes on average because most of them, 90% of them, have played other sports. Whereas football, like you said, a judge is 6'7", 200 plus pounds. This dude could be on your NBA team. He could be the tight end in football, and it averages. And even the short guys are like 5'9", 5'10", 200 solid. So yeah, I mean, baseball, hockey players, those are the last people you kind of really want to fuck with. you know,
yeah, man. Um, Magic Johnson came out and he said that it's because of him that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union have been able to support Zaire. Is that or
Zaya, is it Zaya now or Wade?
their
No, I'm
their
not sure.
uh, their daughter? Um,
I'm not sure what the name is. Look it up real quick. Go ahead. I look it up.
who was biologically born a boy, but it's weird because a picture came out. Um, Born biologically a boy, dresses like a woman or like a girl, right? What's the word? I forget the word I'm looking for.
Identifies as a girl.
Identifies. That's the word I'm looking for. Identifies
Hmm.
as a girl. Accepted by the parents. Okay, you're gonna support your kids. But they're
Zaya.
kissing a girl who identifies as a boy.
No, I
You know what
think
I'm
it's a
saying?
boy who also identifies as a girl.
No, no, it was a girl who identifies as a boy.
Oh,
That was the weird. That was what. That's what made people. That's what confused people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you were born a boy. She was born a girl, but she identifies as a boy, and you identify as a girl, and y'all are in a relationship.
hmm. I didn't know that wrinkle, but I know mostly the large issue in the black community, black cookout, on the internet was not necessarily the identities, but the allowance of these young kids to sit here and swap tongue, you know, together, which societally and culturally for black people is taboo and forbidden. And I've always said, and I think we've all, well, I'm saying in front of their parents, in front of adults, to like for kids to be kissing like that, VP. Uh,
Gotcha. I wasn't sure where you. Okay, I'm with you.
yeah, I'm saying that's like taboo for black folks because we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I know people that are grown to this day that been married don't even kiss their spouse in front of their parents. Just out of respect. And I think that was in the black world that was a huge thing where it's like, okay, we know your child has whatever identity, but you just allowing this motherfucker to just kiss someone's kid in front of you, and then you putting it on social media. Like I think that was the biggest thing, and we've said that in the past that yo, I don't know how you came to the point that you've come to, but we as parents would like to maintain some sort of innocence or gray area to be like, yo, you're a kid. You ain't got this, you don't have it figured out yet. You know what I'm saying? But okay, here we are. We accept your identity, but now you're kissing at this age in front of us. Black people was like, nah, that ain't cool.
So I think you know, the key thing on what you said there was, we as parents, like, but we aren't the parents, you know. So if that's how Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union run their household, then more power to them. Like, we don't have to raise our kids that way, and everybody, you are the king of your castle, and so you run your household and teach your kids the things that you want them to learn, or whatever, and and I think this is why, when we talk about these kind of topics, whether it's kids who may be trans or identify as trans, whether we're talking about bodily autonomy in the case of like abortion, we talked about that last week and things like that. My whole thing is, I'm kind of a hands-off person. Like, this is what this person is doing in their life. This shit has no impact on mine, so I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
But on the flip side, though, right? We can't have it both ways. We can't sit here and bash Kanye for what he does personally and say, well, he has influence. Like, this situation, while they're not on Kanye's level, that family's highly respected and modeled after, and it has influence. And
They're irresponsible. They're
and
irresponsible parents, and if any other set of parents were being as irresponsible as Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade when it comes to their child, you you would be subject. And I'm not saying just this specific situation, but I mean in general. When you talk about irresponsible, and I'm addressing where you said, VP, that we can't judge it. People are judged every day by social services. And if what you're doing is irresponsible and someone deems it irresponsible, they're well within their right to judge it. Now, whether it's right or wrong and whether it's to that extent of social services is a whole nother story. But it's perfectly okay for somebody to look and be like, that is bad parenting, because ultimately what you're seeing from them is bad parenting.
So again, that's an opinion, because when you talk to people who are child psychologists and things like that, they'll tell you, you know, they don't think that that's bad parenting. If this kid identifies a certain way, let the kid be who they are, because if you make them repress it and all those kinds of things, they could have trouble later in life when they become an adult. Now, to where you guys are when you start talking about having I can't remember the name of the procedure, but like the transition procedure. I don't know. I don't know the medical term for it. Like when you have the surgery to switch genders.
Mhm.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Like that happening in a child, I would agree. Like, that's something that shouldn't be happening for a kid who is a minor, right? But if your kid is saying, they're a boy, they identify as a girl, girl identifies as a boy, and you're letting that happen, you're letting them be them. You know
no,
what I
we,
mean?
we we
And
passed that. We passed that in this
Yeah, yeah.
conversation. For me,
No,
it's the
yeah.
you're letting a child, you know, and don't get me wrong, kids do this in their own confines and behind your back and etc. And okay, but the thing here is you're openly allowing your child. We're not gender. Nah, I mean that's relevant for the to the discussion of that. It's just been relevant because of who they are. But just allowing the kid to do that in front of you for our community culturally, that ain't what we do.
and I hear what you're saying, right? And I think, one, like, I saw the photo, but it looked like it was like a photo shoot kind of thing. So I almost wonder if that was kind of the point, is to do it like on camera for whatever reason, right? And I don't know if that's something that happens like in closed doors. You know what I mean? Because I get what EJ's saying. When I was a kid and my girlfriend would come over, we weren't all like that, in front of parents and shit. Like, you know what I mean? You get ready to leave, like, hey, I'm out. You give them a hug and leave. And so because I get it, right? But again, we don't know how the other kid parent, what they allow them to do. And then however D Wade and Gabrielle Union run there. Again, I mean, Steve says bad parenting, but if you think that that's bad parenting, that's fine. You're well within your right to think so. You just don't have to raise your kid that way, you know. And to EJ's point about having it both ways, Kanye, et cetera, right? I've been a huge critic of Kanye on this podcast offline, and will continue to do so. But my things with Kanye was more on when we were talking about like him basically going after Pete Davis, telling people on his social media to harass him in public and things like that. That shit is like way too far. And then even when we talk about like the kids thing or whatever, my whole thing on that was you're on your social media crying about not being able to see your kids. You're a fucking billionaire. Get your lawyer and get your ass in court if she won't let you see your kids. You know what I mean? So that's the argument that I made there on the Kanye thing. I think that these things are two different situations.
Yeah, but the similar undertone of what I'm saying is the influence that social media has on people. And it's like we can say, hey, it isn't my thing, it isn't whatever, but it has influence, and it becomes a topic of discussion. And it's funny because I was gonna say I think people that comment, there are people that comment on a post, you might make a post about it, and they come on, they be like, why do you care? I'm like, I think you people are the most weird people for coming on a post that you said not care about to ask motherfuckers why they care. Like, if you don't care, just keep going. But
Right.
people do care. You get to see it, it's in your face. And the thing is, if you have conversations with your kids and you listen to what they're saying, that shit influences them. Like, you can hear your kids joking like, bruh, I'm about to Will Smith you. You know what I mean? Like, everything influences your kid. And you know, while you could be able to have these discussions if you're an active parent and you're paying attention and all of that, or you just have conversation, or maybe you don't, you can have influence on it, but it does matter. You would be a fool to say it completely has no bearing on other children around the world, or the
Here
nation.
here's why I say it doesn't, in my opinion, right? It's that one, I've said this before and I continue to believe it to this day. I don't think people choose to be gay. I think people are born gay,
VP, we're
right?
not talking about that though.
No, no, I'm saying let me just make the point. So when we talk about influencing children, I don't think that somebody being gay, transgendered, etc., is influencing another child to do so because that person is who they are already. You know what I
But we're
mean?
not talking about that. And even in that instance, I believe what you're saying is partially true. I've also have talked to female athletes and teammates, or not teammates, females that played basketball that said, I wasn't on that, but other people tried to influence me to do that simply because I play basketball. There's articles about it. But I get what you're saying in that sense, but we're not talking about that. We talking about the freeness that this couple is allowing their child, their teenager, to do what they're doing for the world to see. Even in your point to say, damn, it was a photo shoot. Are y'all motherfuckers trying to make this viral? Are y'all trying to exploit this? That's more of the message that, yo, I'm 14 years old, 13, 14 years old, and it's okay for me to kiss my partner sexually in that manner in front of my parents. You should do it too.
Right. And it may send that message, right? But at the same time, you if your kid sees that and that's your time to say, hey, that's not okay. Or even if your kid don't see it, like there are things that I just knew were not okay that my mom didn't have to directly tell me you can't do this and this. You know what I mean? And so that kind of just goes to the upbringing and knowing, that you have taught your kids the things that you want them to learn about life. Obviously, they're going to learn some stuff on the streets, they're going to learn some stuff from their friends, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, I'm hoping that the me or any other parent out there has done things in their kids' lives for that kid to know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and that kind of thing like that. And you kind of go from there.
Kids learn from other kids, though,
Yeah, no
and
doubt.
and whether you tell them what's acceptable, what's right and wrong, etc., or not, they're gonna do it. How many times were you told well, you're different, but how many people were told by their parents don't smoke weed, right? It's you shouldn't be smoking weed, and kids still do it, right? How many times were you probably told you shouldn't skip class, or you know what I'm saying, you shouldn't skip school? And I don't know if you did or didn't, but I was told the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just think there's that. I think EJ mentioned it. They're a high profile couple, um, and their children are high profile, and as such, there's responsibility that comes with that, and you're teaching different things to children that maybe can influence some type of negative behavior. Um, and where I say they're bad parents is not because they're supporting Zaire in being Zaya. I'm where I'm saying they're bad parents is because I get it. It's okay to be, and we say it all the time. I think we say it all the time. I say it all the time. There's a point where you stop being someone's friend, your kid's friend, and you have to be your kid's parent.
Hmm.
And it's okay to be supportive. It's okay to be hands off. It's okay to watch from afar. But at some point, you have to parent. At some point, you have to be the law. At some point, you know it goes beyond being support, and you looking like Boo Boo the fool. And that's what Dwayne Wade looks like him coming out in a female pink suit, dressed up like Pepto Bismol. That's support, right? You're supporting your child because you're because Zaya identifies as a girl. You want her to feel comfortable in doing so. You dress in pink, whatever that does to help with Zaya's mental health, that is support. But to this extreme of allowing, public affection at 13, 14 years old, um, and not only that, but you also have to think, we talk about mental health and you brought that up. You have to think about the mental health aspect of the ridicule that Zaya can potentially get and the access that Zaya is going to have to that on social media. Just because you support it doesn't mean that's going to fix all the mental health. Now you're allowing this to happen, and then you're going to have tabloids, you're going to have fucking TMZ, you're going to have all these social media apps, or sites that are going to be like, oh, look at this, this is terrible, this is a shitty thing. You know what I'm saying? So all the strides that you've made to help Zaya feel comfortable in her skin, you could potentially have that thrown away because they get to see what comes from you allowing this to be in the public eye.
Yeah, but that's not a reason not to support your kid, right? And who are we to say what level of support his child needs? If he feels like these are the things that his kid needs to that he needs to do to support his child and being, who she is, more power to him.
When does it
Now
stop being support and you
I
being their
I
friend?
knew you was going there. That was gonna the next thing I was getting ready to say. Right now, there are limits, right? If the kid comes and says, hey, I need to shoot up some heroin so I can feel right in my own skin. I mean, obviously, that's a
That's not a
bridge too
limit,
far.
that's an extreme. That's
What
not
I'm
a
saying,
limit, that's an extreme.
right? So I'm saying that at some point, I'm pretty sure there's something that Zaya could do that Wade and Gabrielle will say, okay, no, like we're not going that far. If you want to do that, when you get grown, have at it, but while you living under my roof, we're not doing that. And who's to say that that stuff hasn't happened? But it goes back to my point at the beginning. It's none of our business. It's none of our concern.
But it becomes our
It
business when
is
it,
when you
when
It
it
put it
never
in the
does
becomes
public
become our
eye.
viral.
business.
Yes, it
It
is
become
when
it
it's in
becomes
public
it
eye.
becomes public eye. It becomes viral. It becomes business. We can't live in this society where on one hand we say one thing about whoever it is, and we're removing the gender identity. We're removing that. We're talking about the responsibility of what we're seeing in the imagery of what we're seeing in this act. And we can't take one example, wherever it may be, for anyone else and say, oh, we got to critique this. This is what happens. This is the world we're in. This is why people have talk radio. This is why there is social media. It's real. It exists. It's not 1998 no more, where it's just the front page thing and people just let it go. It's real now. It's more influential now.
So I'm not saying that we can't have opinion. I mean, we have a podcast where all we do is give our opinions on shit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that we can't do that. What I'm saying is regardless of who says what about whatever, like Steve said earlier, like, oh, Wade is out here looking like Boo Boo the fool. because he wore a pink suit or whatever. And at the end of the day, you may feel that, I may feel different or whatever, but it's just our opinion. It doesn't matter. As long as, he's raising his kid, the kid is healthy, and the kid is not in any danger or anything like that, then, you know, it's whatever.
And Steve saying that it could potentially do some harm for this kid because of the access, because of everything. And I mean, to some degree, you do have to question, like,
We've
is
seen it. Look at
yeah,
Willow Smith. Look at the spiral Willow Smith went through with the same type of parents that supported that. We're gonna support our kids. And then you got Willow going crazy. She fucking uh in counseling and mental health, shaving her head like Britney Spears, doing all this wild ass shit because she had a spiral. And then she was in the public eye and the media killed her and she had a spiral. And sure, she bounced back. Willow's in a much better place now. But you should be able to do everything you can in your power to prevent that. And being able to simply say, nah, we're not gonna put this picture out because this is gonna cause ridicule, not on me, but on you, and could potentially cause mental health issues or lasting impression to you mentally when you read the nasty shit and the mean shit that people can say to you. You already are dealing with it. Zaya's already been dealing with it, right? She's probably reading this shit every single day. Every time there's a picture posted, they got to deal with the fact that people are judging it. And, it just, now you're going to the extreme and saying, all right, let's put this one out. Let's see what this is about.
So that's social media to begin with. If Zaya was still Zaire, dressed, gender conformed, dressed like a boy, and posted a picture on Instagram, or not even not Instagram, posted a message on Facebook that just said "Good morning." Of the however many followers that they have, I bet 10% of those posts would say, "Fuck you, you a piece of shit."
Apples
Because
and
that's just
oranges. Apples
it's
and
not.
oranges. It
People
is.
get
but
criticized on social media
even
regardless
still,
of what they do.
at the end of the day, to Steve's overall point, at some point, and again, we know at the bottom line, it's their family, do whatever. But to Steve's point, at the end of the day, it's still your job as a parent to have a certain protection over your kids, whether it's limiting how much they do to social media, how much access, and then what do you do to compound it that you're not making it worse? I mean, LeBron, man, we give him a lot of shit for what he does on the court, but off the court, he's shielding his family from a lot of that shit. If it ain't positive, if it ain't, just Bronny playing basketball and shit that other people are posting, he don't really have his kids doing all of that. And I get, we're not trying to say they need to be the same, but I think what Steve's saying, to some degree, in this world of support and everything's okay, as parents and as public figures to society, at some point you have to have some type of filter to say, okay, what is too much? Where is that line? Because you even speculated to say, I'm sure there's something. We, as the people watching, we don't really know what that could be right now with them, and
And
that's the
we
thing.
don't have to know. Is the
That
thing I'm saying.
that's true. But one day, if something is to ever happen, like Steve was saying, people can't ask why. What happened with these kids? We've seen what happened to the Lindsay Lohans, to the,
Yeah.
to the other people, that we see what happens.
Right, and that stuff happens to people. I'm like, I get Steve's point about Willow and your point about Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, etc. Right, it's tough on child stars. You're not there mentally, right? I mean, we see adult stars. We talked about that earlier with Kyrie and some of these other guys. Who were having fits and that kind of thing like that. And I'm not trying to discount that and say that stuff is not real. What I'm simply saying is that whatever has happened in the Wade household, you know, I have to assume that that Wade and Gabrielle and potentially even the mom of Zaya, I don't know her name, but Gabrielle's not the birth mother.
Hmm.
Um Wade's ex-wife is what I'm talking about. Maybe even they've all three of them have had a conversation and said,
Well, she's a crackhead, wasn't she? Or was it
I
the
don't
other?
No,
Yeah,
she did
I
have
don't know.
a troubled past, and he pretty much has been the
he
sole
fixed it.
parent for a long time, and I know that was like an issue. So I don't know how much
Yeah. Now I
she's
remember
in the
they had a
picture.
big custody battle, but like he has full custody, but I don't know if like the
Yeah,
mom is in the life.
yeah.
But I'm just because I know that background is why I'm saying maybe, I don't know. But whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever adults in the situation and this child, I have to assume, I have to hope that they've had a conversation and they're doing the things that they need to do to put protections, to set boundaries, etc. in this child's life. And then we'll see what happens. If Zaya, at age 16 is turns into Lindsay Lohan or Britney Spears or some shit, you know, I'm pretty sure there'd be plenty of people, Steve included, who's gonna be like, I told you so, saw it coming, but I mean, at
but
the end of the
but
day, we gotta let them live their life.
Yeah.
you do. But as a parent, you just got to think like, don't think about, oh, well, maybe she'll shave her head. You got to think about, well, maybe she'll see this shit and take her life. Like we see that every day. And you got to shield. I mean, and maybe, I don't know what, we don't know what their counseling and all of that behind closed doors looks like, but we see what we see. And from what we see, it looks like, at what point are you going to parent this kid? You know what
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I
saying?
think they're
Like,
parent. I mean, because wait, they could be going to Zaya saying, "Hey, I see through my own social media a lot of people being negative about this shit. How are you doing?" You know, and then the kid says, "Well, I feel like this. Whoop whoop. It doesn't bother me. Fuck them. Whatever." Or the kid might be like, "It's starting to impact me," and then maybe they say, "Okay, well, let's talk to somebody about that." You know what I mean?
here's
So
what
we
I'll
don't we
do.
don't know
I'll
what they're
fix
doing.
it by wearing all pink next time I go on TV.
Come on, man.
That'll do it.
Oh
Yeah.
man, terrible.
Bought into the damn Utah Jazz and became this. Um. So, damn D Wade. Uh. So yeah. So I mean, ultimately, it was Magic Johnson saying he was supporting him, and my point there was just I feel like Magic Johnson did a little bit more of supporting versus I think they're doing a little bit of enabling. And sometimes it's like when you like as parents, let's say you yell at your kid or you beat your kid, you feel bad later, and you're like, oh, let's get some ice cream or some crazy shit. And it almost seems like they're allowing this because of all the shit that Zaya's gone through, and it's out of control to me. It's out of control to me.
I mean, I mean, Magic Johnson's kid was a an adult when all this stuff was going down with his kid. But again, we learn from people who are like advocacy groups for gay rights and things like that, that these people don't turn 18, 21, 25, and all of a sudden say, man, I think I've been gay my whole life. These people, when you talk to people who have been in the closet, they talk about the impact that it has on them. And I'll just say something personally here. I have someone, and this is not my nephew or whatever, but I have someone that's extremely close to me. I won't mention much more than that. That I believe is gay and in the closet. And I've talked to other family members about it, and they're like, "Yeah, like I don't know, like we're all cool with it, but she, I don't know." You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
this nigga was like, I'm not gonna say who it is, but we now know it's your
All right,
family.
we know it's a
It's a
she. We
female.
know it's your family. Go ahead, just go on and say it, man.
Oh shit! Good
but
job,
but
good job, man. Very inconspicuous.
yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, but
Had to make
but
it clear.
imagine, but I'm saying, but like having
Oh
this
shit!
conversation though, having this conversation, it it makes me wonder like what this person is going through in their head. And then I talked to, like, there's a guy that I work with who's gay, and I asked him one day, like, yo, how would you feel like if, yeah, like, I laid out the situation for him and said, like, if I came to you and said, look, we know you're gay. Like we're all cool
Baby,
with
you
it. So
gay.
like,
We know you gay.
so and he was like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. And he gave me like all, from a gay person's perspective, he was like, because woo woo blah blah blah, and I was like, all right, cool. So we all just kind of chill. You know what I mean?
You
But
know what you got to do? One of those montages that you be sending to the group chat. You just send send that to her and be like, "Oh shit, wrong number."
But again, I don't think that that's what in this instance we're talking about. Like, I think we're fine with that, and I've been through the same experience with close friends, and I actually went out and did what you said at one point, and it was kind of like, but it's I don't think that's the issue here for me, and like I said, the cookout. The issue was, you letting these babies, sexually exchange, uh, feelings and kiss in front of you. It's like this is a whole different conversation, and it's like as a community, we're not used to that, and I don't know that we need to get used to that. Like there's certain things that we as a community got to get used to be like, this ain't what we know, this ain't what we cool or might be cool with, but we understand. You feel this way. All right, we understand. But allowing your youngins, two babies to sit there and romantically kiss like that in front of you, that ain't something that I think as a society we need to be cool with. That's all
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, man. It is what it is. They letting bitches shit in people's beds. Amber
what?
Heard shit in Johnny Depp's bed, and they're like, man,
well,
this is where we're at, man. Our society
turn
is crazy right
turn the
now.
corner hard on that one.
Before we get to Johnny Depp, what's going on in politics? I can tell you one thing. I logged into my student loan account and they're still there. So there's that.
um, yeah, man, politics. Can we go a little local today? Here in
Here we
Oh
go.
yeah.
the great state of Florida.
You
This
mean our
guy,
next president?
yeah, fucking Ron DeSantis is out of control. They passed he signed three bills into law this week. One is a redistricting bill where they basically wiped out a district that was up in the Jacksonville area, where they basically diluted the votes of black people up there. They're going to be sued, but with the way the court's current makeup is, I doubt that lawsuit goes anywhere in the end. Um, then he signed another bill um that shit. Oh, the 15-week abortion ban. He signed that into law as well. And then he signed a bill targeting Disney. So they signed a bill getting rid of the what's referred to as the RDIC, which is the Reedy Creek or RCID, sorry, the Reedy Creek Independent District. And what this is, EJ, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, or even Steve for that matter, is that here in Florida, and they may have this in other places across the country, but Disney is part of a special independent district, right? So the Reedy Creek district basically is run by Disney. So Disney basically is its own government, right? So like when Disney needs to build a road, they need to build a hotel, they're going to build whatever. They don't have to go to Orange County and say, hey, we want to build this road. And they come out and send surveyors and say, yeah, okay, we think you should do, here's your permit and all that kind of shit. Disney goes to Disney and say, hey, we want to build this road. And they just say, that's cool. And then Disney does it. You see what I'm saying? The Reedy Creek district, they tax themselves. So Disney lays out a budget and says, this is what our budget is for the year. And then the district says, hey, this is what your taxes are going to be. And then they send the bill to Disney, and then Disney pays it. You see what I'm saying? They have to comply with all like building regulations for the state and things like that. But when you go to Disney, like that Reedy Creek area is actually nicer than most areas in the state, because when you go there, you don't see no potholes, there's no trash overflowing. All services that the county do, they do them for themselves and at a higher level. But they're getting rid of that district, which is going to make that flow back into Orange County now, meaning that the county and Osceola County as well So the county is going to be responsible for picking up their trash, for regulating their roads, their fire services, their water management, all that shit like that, which then is going to make taxes go up on people who live here in Orange and Osceola County. The Orange County tax office is saying anywhere between 22 to 2,500 bucks a year. Orange County residents could expect their taxes to increase because
Wow.
of this decision. Um, so yeah, it's shit is crazy, all because Disney spoke out against something that the governor is doing. They used their First Amendment free speech right, and now they're being punished. I'm pretty sure Disney's probably going to sue them on those grounds, and they have a good chance of winning that case. But the way that this current court is, I don't know. You know,
Yeah. The only thing is Disney has money that the norm doesn't have. So going to the battle with that, they could probably prolong it, and uh, they have a better chance of winning that than the redistricting up in Jacksonville, I'm sure.
no doubt. And I mean, if I'm Disney, who is, i.e., the largest employer in the state, I would just say, hey, I'm leaving.
Right.
You know,
Well,
Mm.
but no,
leaving.
that's the problem. That's what they want, and they won't. Like Disney's not going to do that,
Yeah, they're not gonna go.
but
But I'm
that's what they
saying, like,
want.
yeah, who you mean DeSantis? Him?
Yeah.
No, they don't want Disney to leave. They want Disney to shut the fuck up. So the problem is that when DeSantis then passed this what's called as the "Don't Say Gay" bill, Disney didn't speak out about it, and a lot of Disney employees were like, "Yo, what the fuck? Like, you guys talk about all this inclusion, all this shit like that,
Hmm.
and you donated money to these motherfuckers who are passing bills that silence gay people." And then Bob Chapek, who's the CEO of Disney, took a lot of heat internally from employees, and so Disney spoke out about it. And then the Republicans here in the state said, "Oh, you have an opinion? Boom! Now we're gonna punish you." You see what I'm saying?
A
And
word?
so,
Yeah,
and
this
then
is what it's like to be black.
no, but the shit that's crazy about it, right, is that like you hear these right wing motherfuckers who are always talking about, oh, cancel culture, da da da, and it's like, is this not cancel culture? Somebody
Hmm.
said something you don't
Canceling your
like, so
opinion.
you're using the power of the government to punish them. You see what I'm saying? And so yeah, so like I said, Ron DeSantis is fucking out of control. This guy needs to go. Like 2022 or not? I mean, it's already 22, but November can't get here soon enough. I mean, I don't think he's gonna get kicked out of office, but I'm hoping.
And that's the
I'm fucking
thing.
hoping.
That's the thing. Disney needs to leverage this and their employees and the families and their employees, to start to jump into that political arena because, as a billion-dollar company, you want to stay middle of the road. You don't want to have to get on a lot of these issues. Now, something like that bill, and you're talking about people having the right to say what they want and be who they want. The government, DeSantis, is forcing their hand. These companies don't want to be one side or the other. They want to be come one, come all. But now you're forcing our hand, and it's coming to that point in time where these large corporations, the people that we give money to, and we seen it with who was that, Haagen Dazs or Ben and Jerry's rather.
Ben and Jerry's.
They came out to say, yo, we're gonna get on the side of these things we think are right. If you fuck with us, roll with us. And this is what we're coming to. And if January 6th didn't tell you anything, this is what it is. Like, people are really gonna have to start to get on the right side of things. And it's always tough to kind of say what the right side is, but when you're, based on your opinion, but when you're infringing on, again, someone's ability to be themselves,
They're right. Yeah.
that's a problem. When your government is making a decision that's going to financially impact thousands of homes just cuz, that's a problem. And at some point, people just got to get back to common sense. Thomas Paine wrote it a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what that common sense was about before I let that be a example, but
You
get
know,
back to common sense.
it's a bold and a tricky situation for or decision for Ron DeSantis for all these things that he's passing, um, because the LBGTQ plus whatever other letters they've added to it since community is extremely present in the state of Florida, like extremely. South Florida and all over, right? Disney does their, and I forget what it's called, but it's their gay week, Pride Week. And it's a big thing, right? Like this is it's big that you can be in Florida, and for LGBTQ plus community, it's big for them to be in Florida to be able to exercise their right and live their way, just the same as it is for those Republicans that felt like not wearing a mask can come to Florida and live their way. You know what I mean? And he's making a tricky decision in a year where there's an election. But it's going to come down still again to me, right from wrong or right from left, because you're still going to have people that are so far right that are also gay or whatever, trans, etc., and they'll still vote for this piece of shit motherfucker, and that's where it's nasty.
So I hear what you're saying, Steve, but this goes to the part of the problem with the Republican Party, right? And people can say, I'm liberal, whatever, I'll be that,
We know.
right? The problem is that the Republican Party has decided that they're no longer a governing party. They don't govern to make people's lives better. Their job is to rile people up, set people's hair on fire over issues that don't matter to them. So that's why in Florida we passed a 15-week abortion ban, because this is what these religious conservatives want. That's why we passed the Don't Say Gay bill, because that's what these religious conservatives want. Disney spoke out against that. Now we need to punish them. We're going to make people's taxes go higher, even though Republicans claim to be the party of low taxes and cutting taxes, et cetera, et cetera. This is a tax increase on people of Central Florida. Why don't they give a fuck about that? Maybe it's because 56% of people who live in Orange County voted for DeSantis' opponent, Andrew Gillum, in the last election. Maybe it's because of 52% of people who live in Osceola County voted for Andrew Gillum, who's DeSantis' opponent. So I don't give a fuck about those people anyway, because they're not voting for me. So who gives a shit if their taxes go up, right? This is why the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, puts into place this rule that says it's going to inspect every commercial vehicle that comes across the border through Texas, right? Because we got to stop illegal immigrants, even though by law he's not allowed to look inside the trucks or anything like that. They're doing shit like checking tire pressure and shit like that, which then slows down the supply chain, makes inflation go higher, and hurts the nation because it hurts Biden because it's an election year. At the end of the day, ended up costing Texas people of Texas alone, $4.2 billion. Right? They do that because they're no longer a party of governing. They're a party of culture war bullshit every day, all day, every day, all day. There's
On the
no
flip side,
policy. We're not. There's no flip side. We're not debating. Tax rates, how
no.
much regulation there
On,
should be,
on the
how
flip side,
clean the air should be. It's all what can we do to make our base amped up to get them to the polls in November.
on the flip side, who
I
is
know what
the
he just did.
Democratic opponent or potential? Who are these people running against? Who might be running for governor? Because
In
this
Florida,
is
you mean?
again, yeah. Because this is the moment of time. This is the moment of truth where you have social media, you have allies in other states. Somebody call Stacey Abrams, get her to fucking Florida. Figure this shit out. Who's running? Where are the Florida Democrats? Where are they lighting their base on fire? Where are they?
Um, so the folks who are running, the two main candidates, because everybody else who's running is they don't have a shot, is our former governor Charlie Crist, who was a Republican who became a Democrat. He's running in the Democratic primary, and then our current agricultural commissioner Nikki Fried,
I remember her.
she's running. They're both running in the Democratic primary to be the nominee for
And how
governor.
how outspoken have they been on this shit?
I don't follow Chris. I'm a supporter of Nikki Fried, so I follow her online. I've donated money to her campaign, etc. She's been very outspoken about this, and as somebody who's the current ag commissioner, she's actually in the cabinet. So sometimes she's in some of these meetings where this shit is happening, and she speaks out about it, and she's doing press conferences, and I see
Good.
her on TV all the time and shit like that. But at the end of the day, though, to answer your overall question, and you alluded to Stacey Abrams, the Democratic Party in Florida is extremely weak. extremely weak. They're it's it's hard to even call them a party because they're, I would assume they're, I would not even assume, I would say they're loosely organized, and they're not out doing the things that they need to do. And I think it's one of those things of where the party itself sees itself as kind of being like the Republican Party in California, where it's like, we're kind of becoming
Exist, but that's it.
yeah, we exist, but we're not really doing a lot here.
Can't do nothing though, bruh.
And yeah, and you can't be like that. You have to, like, Florida is not a state, it's not, Utah or something like that, where it's just a foregone conclusion that Republicans are in charge of the state, or I mean, they are, but I think Democrats have given up on this state by and large, except for in
But
the
it
presidential election.
and it doesn't make sense because it was the two elections most recently were so close,
Yeah,
right? The DeSantis
33,000 votes.
election, yeah, the DeSantis election was close, and Florida was a player in the Biden election. So
Hmm.
it just doesn't make sense to just toss it and throw it out and say, we give up on it. But I think EJ's bigger point, which I thought he was going to say, which he didn't say, and I think he kind of said it, but passively aggressively, is um the flip side to all of what you said of how the Republicans are doing this and they're serving their people is where are the Democrats? Not so much as why are they not showing up? Where are they is what have they done for people that have supported them? Like, and I get the little shit that you're gonna throw out there, but I'm talking about on the big matters that people talk about in general. All the promises that Democrats have made, and not only at presidential level, but at the state level. Where are they? Where are they? Because the Republicans turn to their guy and they're like, listen, we not for this gay shit. And their guy turns and says, yo, we not for this gay shit. You know what I'm saying? Democrats turn to their people and say, hey, we not for something. And they're like, yeah, but let's see how the Republicans feel about it. Let's make sure we don't rattle any feathers first. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't
And
say it
so,
because I've been on the soapbox to say
Because
it,
you've said it all the time. Yeah.
and we
yeah.
know that's just what that party is overall through and through.
And so,
Reactionary, getting pissed on party.
and I was gonna make this point after you finish, Steve, is that the problem is that people who are in charge of the Democratic Party, right, whether it's the party itself, the politicians, I mean, Joe Biden's president, he's the head of the party right now, but I mean, I'm talking about people at the DNC, candidates across the country, not all of them, but a majority of them. They see Republicans through the frame of like a Joe Biden, my friends, they're just, they're good people. We got
We
different
have to
opinions.
work with them.
Yeah. They don't see Republicans the way that I see them, as a anti-authoritarian. The Republican Party is essentially American Taliban. Okay. And
Jesus.
and
That was your Kanye moment right there. Timestamp that.
and and you have people like a Joe Biden and a Joe Manchin and shit like that who are like, you know, oh, these are just my colleagues, and that's not what it is. Like, people like Mitch McConnell, like Joe Biden talks about how Mitch McConnell's his friend and all this shit because they've known each other for 30 years or whatever. Mitch McConnell would fucking throw Joe Biden off the Truman balcony if it would get him another Senate seat
but
in
you
a
know what?
heartbeat.
But you know what?
But
At
he
the
acts
end of
like
the
they're
day,
friends, and they're not.
but you know what? At the end of the day, they are friends because the people in the Democratic Party choose to take that route. They don't choose to bleed and die with their constituents. They're comfortable being friends across the not the alley, but across the what do you call that
Yeah.
shit? Across the aisle. They choose to do this because at the end of the day, they know, Nancy Pelosi knows, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna get my money from my stock investments that I have insider knowledge about, and I'm good. They don't care. That's the thing. We keep the other differences. We keep thinking that our Democratic representatives should care and that they do care, when a large majority of them really don't. That's why the AOCs, the Bernies, and the Warrens, they're so beloved by those of us that actually can see through the nonsense, because we actually see they're not there for friends. They're there for actual change. You know,
Yeah, you
uh,
need somebody like AOC who came up through the mud. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who knows what it's like. These people, I think, like I get it, man. Biden is from, what, Baltimore, right? He's
no,
from
PA,
Maryland
from
or
Scranton,
PA,
PA.
He's from Pennsylvania, and
right?
then
But
you
he's
So
know,
but
he
he's been a politician for
but
45
that's
fucking
what I was
years.
gonna say. He's so far
not
removed
really.
from reality.
More like 50.
Yeah, a lot more. But he's so far removed from reality, right? You need someone who's fresh. These people are still, end of the day, to your point, EJ, Democrats, they're gonna go in there and they'll fight it, but they're only gonna fight it but so far, because they still get to go home to their palace. You know what I'm saying? They still get to open up their bank account on their app, and they can still see the 7 digits and shit. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody in there that's gonna really sit down and be like, yo, that's closer to and remembers. I remember what it was like to have $3,000 in my bank account, and but have $6,000 worth of debt that I know I'm gonna have to pay for this year or something like that. Like,
I, I disagree with that partially, Steve, and I get your point, and I don't think that is wrong. But the reason I say I disagree partially is that you got a president who you go back to the 30s, FDR. FDR came from an extremely wealthy family, extremely privileged background, and this dude gets into office and fights for middle class and poor people because he was able to see this shit is hurting these people. They need more. We got to
but
do
he's a
more for them.
unicorn, though.
And
He's a
the
unicorn, though.
right and
And
the better
he also saw the Great Depression and how much he needed to do it. Problem is,
right. But
we're comfortable. Our politicians are comfortable right now.
no, so
They don't have to do that.
right, and I was gonna make that point, but then you fast forward to a guy like Clinton, right, who says, you know what, I'm gonna regulate and tax wealthy people, and that
Smart
money
man.
will then trickle down, and people who are middle class, poor, etc., will have more money. And you know what poor and middle class people do when they have more money? They spend it. And then you know what that does? It helps people who are in the stock market and who are rich, who owns businesses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And
Right.
that's partially why his presidency was so successful as well, or whatever. So, it's not, I don't think, and Clinton is a person who came from that background, like you said, somebody who was poor, et cetera, et cetera. And then FDR is on the other extreme, somebody who was extremely wealthy and privileged, and both got to the same point. I don't think where you come from necessarily matters. It's about, do you give a fuck? Do you give a shit? Are you able to look at data and see that this is how people are impacted by this policy? This is how people are impacted by inaction on this thing, or this thing that we did on another thing, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think that the majority of our politicians are that way.
And we
I
talking
think, but
specifically
that's also a
Democrats.
problem too, because you're talking just data, right? I could look at data all day. You need to get out there and you need to see this. You need to see exactly what's going on. Like, if you drive through some of these cities and you see granted, I'm not telling them they got to get out there and fucking rub shoulders with crackheads or anything like that. I mean, they're providing crack pipes, but
Oh my god.
but at least you need to see, like, you have to see the impact that that it's having on people versus just the numbers. Oh, we have X amount of homeless, we have X amount of black people that are jobless, and this many people that are dependent on this and that. No, 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 no. I don't want to just see a number. Don't just show me a spreadsheet. Get your face out here and come see what the fuck is going on in these streets, so that you can really identify with the people and say, you know what? And because your heart, it's just like, I mean, again, and I always bring it back to Ray Rice. Ray Rice got his hand slapped until they saw it. When they saw what actually happened, shit changed. Like, yo, ban this man. You
Well,
hear it, you read it in
Nah,
a spreadsheet.
I think you're right, Steve. I think that's a good point, because I remember when I was in Iraq, man, they sent us to this FOB, a forward operating base, and we were out there with no fucking water. And I remember the CG came, the commanding general, and he was coming over to see us, and they were like, hey, when he comes, like, if you just give him a salute. Well, we don't salute in combat, but shake his hand, with a yes sir, no sir, blah blah blah, that kind of thing, like that, keep it moving, you know keep your opinions to yourself, kind of thing. And then, he came over like, hey, how you Marines doing? He's shaking hands. Thank you for what you're doing out here, that kind of thing like that, right? And he's like, you guys doing well. You got everything you need, whatever. And we're all like, oh, yes, sir, da. And then there's one dude who's like a PFC, like a private first class, low ranking E2, he was like, we don't got no running water. And the CG kind of looks, and then he looks at his man, and you see the guy like scribble something in some notebook, and goddamn 2 days later, we had water.
Got water.
What I'm saying?
But he probably had 50 emails with that shit from fucking months before.
I've been saying that. I've been saying that forever about the Democratic Party, right? I keep always going back to 2008. The last time they were really in them streets was Barack when he was running. But other than that, Democrats is the same thing. Maxine Waters in Minnesota
hates Maxine Waters.
Maxine Waters. She Auntie Maxine when things are going down in Minnesota and in St. Louis or where's she been? Where's she been? You ain't seen her on a national scale in the streets. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. That's how they do. Even the Al Sharptons. I mean, Al been in the streets fighting for years, but people always say, he don't come until something else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Democratic way. Where the Republican base, they gonna be out there. They gonna be these people have convinced poor people to be like, yo, this shit gonna cost you like 30 grand a year, but it's what you want. And I'm here with you while you're in the poor, and we're gonna pass this, and it's gonna fuck you over. But guess what? You said it's what you want.
Yeah, but they won't be aborting. So it's gonna cost you, but they're not gonna abort.
Let me. I hear you, EJ. Let me just kind of, let me say this. It's not the Republican Party doing that. It's not the Republican Party. It's corporations. Corporations like Coke Industries, run by the Koch brothers, or now it's just the other one died, so it's just the one guy now. But they have gone out, institutions like Fox News, and convinced poor people that what's good for you as being somebody, as a poor person, is to cut this millionaire's taxes. If he gets a tax cut, it's going to benefit you, and they've convinced people of that.
So where the big corporations that the Democrats have in pocket?
No, so what I'm
just asking.
I hear you, and I'm getting
the problem.
No, they do have some corporations.
They got a lot,
support them, but those corporations support them more on, and this is, I talk about it all the time with the Democratic. And let me say this real quick before I continue. I'm not trying to excuse anything that the Democratic Party does. I'll criticize them in the point that I'm making here, because I agree with what EJ is saying. What I'm saying is that corporations that support Democrats are typically there for like social issues.
For sure.
That too. For show, social issues, things like that, right? But when you start seeing, like I'll give you an example. Tim Cook, right? The CEO of Apple. He supports Democrats, right? When Democrats start talking about raising taxes, Apple and their whole lobby is like, whoa. Slow your roll, dog. You know what I mean? Okay,
that
you want to make things cool. No, my point is that a lot of these companies and corporations have convinced people that you don't need us to be taxed or whatever. If you tax us, it's going to be bad for you.
I mean, that's business. I get that piece, but at the driving force behind it, the party is the puppet masters, and the reality is, they're ruthless. Like you said, the Taliban of the American government, and we over here, we got NATO for Democrats. No, okay, sorry, too soon. It's just you just getting rolled over, man. It's just I don't know. It's tough. It's like being a Jets. It's like being a Jets fan.
Nah, it's worse. It's worse. Because, I mean, if you're a Jets fan, you only got to be miserable for, 6 months out the year. Whereas if you were a Democrat, you got to just be miserable forever.
So it's like a Lions fan.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Or a Browns fan.
yeah.
What about so have you guys been hearing or following the Johnny Depp trial?
Yeah, I've been catching up on it.
Nah,
That
I know
man,
something about somebody like shitting in the bed or something. That's all I know about it.
Amber Heard, man. Johnny Depp's one of my favorite actors of all time, by the way, and he's a funny motherfucker.
Yeah, I like everything about Johnny Depp except he doesn't brush his teeth. Like he got Johnny Depp has terrible hygiene. Like this dude, I can't get behind anybody that got bad hygiene. Um, but he's a great actor. But he's getting run through the ringer or attempt. You know, he's basically fighting for his life in court against Amber Heard, his
Eh,
wife.
Ex-wife.
Um, not his life, but
Wait, I thought he
or ex.
sued her.
He's suing
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
how's he
But
fighting for his life if he's the one suing
because
her?
Yeah,
he's suing for defamation and he's got to prove like it's like the biggest uphill battle for this guy just to prove like yo she lied about me like
and
it's the
and beat on him.
and beat on him, right? And of course because our society thinks that physical abuse is a one-way thing. It only happens from men to women, and if it happens from a woman to a man, it's a laughing issue, it's a joking issue. And what kind of pussy would you would report that? Like that's what our society looks at it as. So when he's saying this, and not only that, because he is an amazing actor, people are questioning everything he's saying. Like, yo, he's an actor, just like you did with Will Smith, Vari, at Red Table. It was like, yo, this guy is an actor. He's a top actor. Like, this is all bullshit. But now we're seeing that it wasn't. And I think it's similar with Johnny Depp. Some of the stuff that came out, she was verbally abusive to him. She was physically abusive to him. Now they're trying to and of course like when a black person ends up getting killed by a cop, they try to point out the little bit of things that he has. Oh, well, you drink, right? You had an alcoholic drink at 10 o'clock in the morning, so you
Yeah.
you kind of you deserved
He,
it.
he said it's 5:30 something.
Yo, he's funny
I
as
did see
fuck.
that clip.
So it's one thing if she had come out and she had put this case out on him, nobody would be saying, but you're a drinker. You know what I'm saying? Like you have substance issues. But because it's a man calling for it on a woman, there's all the red tape. Like, wait a minute, but let's check the boxes. You know, did you do this? Well, did you put the toilet seat down? So there you go.
Right.
Well
So
deserved.
This is why she punched you in the face.
so I hear everything you're saying, Steve, and I don't necessarily disagree. I'll just say this though, from a legal standpoint, especially with people in the public eye, the bar for them to prove defamation, because the courts have said like because you're in the public eye, you have to expect some level of of shit talking basically. So for people who are in the public eye, be they politicians, actors, etc., it's extremely hard for them to prove that they were defamed, which is why you normally see like when people are like, oh, I'm going to sue the New York Times because they wrote this article about me saying something, they usually lose those lawsuits. Sarah Palin, as an example, she sued the New York Times. She had a lawsuit against them about 2 months ago, and that lawsuit was tossed out. And the judge had already ruled he was in favor of tossing it out before the jury basically said no. And then the jury said no, so he was like, okay, whatever, because I was going to toss the shit anyway, So,
Yeah.
it's very hard for public figures to prove defamation. So it's very likely, even with everything that you've said, that he's going to lose this case.
Yeah. He's suing her for writing that op-ed that she did, and she didn't mention his name, but uh yeah. But it is just funny to watch, what is being said in the trial, what he's being asked, as if we don't have the evidence that, she hit this dude and did all
Right.
kinds of craziness. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, it does strike the larger point of that domestic violence in other situations where it's not man on woman, it's woman on man, and it is crazy, man. And just shout out to Johnny Depp though in this regard. He's a funny motherfucker. you know the questions he's being
He's
asked and the
wealthy.
response, it's funny as
Yeah,
shit. But I
he's
mean,
Yo,
wealthy.
he's smart though.
EJ glossed over this, and I don't want this point to be lost when he said the things that he had to put up, and she did all kinds of things. They said this lady took a shit in the bed. I don't want to. I don't want to gloss over that. I don't know if I can categorize that as all kind of things.
Yo, that's kind of wild, bro.
Listen,
It's
That's like
kind of
that's like some other level.
that's
You know what I
next
mean?
level. Yo, for you to stand up on your bed, the mattress is a little shaky, and you sitting
God,
there just like, that's
bro,
crazy.
I don't even like the smell of my own shit in the toilet, and the water is fucking like muffling it a little bit. Imagine, ugh, this is disgusting.
Amber Heard is a
She's
wild one.
she's a wild broad, man. She is wild. She's wild. Beating up on this dude, and here's
And
the
they
thing,
wrote
right?
about
It's
it
it's
as she the
it's
victim.
right, but the thing about it is, you know, it's laughable, and it's understandable, and it's okay because they're wealthy, which is what I was getting at. He's a wealthy man, so end of the day, he loses this case, he goes back to his wealthy life. You know what I'm saying? He
Mhm,
can go to south of France, spend 2-3 months there, let it cool down, and then get back to work. You know what I'm saying? But
mhm,
when these situations, if this happens to just a middle class individual or somebody who's dealing with this kind of scrutiny, because they decided, what, I've had enough. It's just, and it wouldn't be magnified, of course. So we wouldn't see it as national news. We wouldn't see the memes. We wouldn't see it on Facebook, Instagram. But you have to assume that the behaviors are the same at the from the law professionals that are trying to fight these cases at the local level, right? So it's a nasty world that we're living in right now, man. It's a crazy times that we're living in, man. These are crazy
definitely,
times.
definitely, and you're 100,000% right, Steve. Like, if this was the average Joe, who knows? Who
Right.
knows
And
what could
not
happen?
not to let it be confused that we think it's okay, that it should be okay for men to do it to women, and then women just not be scrutinized. You know what I mean? Like, it's not right either way. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But when it does happen, there should be a sense of urgency behind to say, hold on, let's make sure that these questions that we're asking are legit and they make sense. Like, and with her, there's this like, she's written, it's out there. You know what I'm saying? She can't say no, I didn't do that. But you put it in a book. Like, come on.
Yeah, Bill Burr touched on that, and that
Oh
there's a
boy.
section of his one of his stand-ups where he talks about he says there's an epidemic of gold digging whores in
Oh
America.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
he goes into like
I
saying like
saw that.
if a woman does something to a guy, it's just considered funny, you know. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It is. It is because we're supposed to be the strong. We're supposed to be, the providers and everything. But that's the thing. You want gender roles when it makes
When it
sense,
benefits you. Yep.
right? But
Yep.
you don't want the gender roles when you talk about, yo, you gonna mop the floor, like you gonna fucking wipe up the dishes real quick. Like, I mean,
Want equality, but when the dude gets punched in the face, nothing to see here. You know, it's yeah, it's rough.
I digress. Um, uh, what else is going on, man? NBA playoffs. KD is so.
ooh,
All right, I want to start. I want
look at
to.
EJ, look at EJ. He about to take a victory lap.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
It's dub. I don't
So
think
the
Ben Simmons gonna make that big of a difference.
so the talk of the NBA playoffs right now. Luka Doncic returned yesterday. Luca doing Luca things. They still ended up losing that game, so that series is tied. But I mean, Luca looked like he didn't miss 13 games. He came right back to it. And of course, Brooklyn. Brooklyn is on the verge of being swept. They are down 3-0 to Boston. With Kyrie, with KD healthy. Not a great supporting cast. I mean, that's really a challenge there. But
Yeah, they supporting Caspin, the ones getting the buckets. Who's that other
Right.
dude?
Exactly.
Bruce Brown,
Bruce Brown.
and he's the
KD and
only.
Kyrie scored 16 points.
But he's
This
the
dude,
only one.
Bruce Brown, got 25. Blake Griffin had more points, I think, than KD almost, right?
He didn't
This
have
is
more
what this
points
is
than
what's
KD.
wild to me,
But
right? Is that people when I and on Sports Center and IE Steve, if this was LeBron, they'd be like LeBron missed the playoffs this year. He's being killed, right? LeBron 137 years old. 137 years old right now. KD is still in the prime of his career, playing with another guy who was in the prime of his career. He's on the back nine of the prime.
now they're in their primes. Oh my god.
KD's not in his prime.
I wouldn't say prime. He's coming off an Achilles injury, an Achilles tear, which people don't ever come back from. Like
Last
let's
season.
be
That
clear.
happened.
Let's be
That was
clear.
last year he came back, Steve.
Oh yeah, but it's an Achilles. Some people don't come back from that ever.
Does he look like he didn't come back?
He's back. He's back.
Okay. I was gonna say it sounds like you're getting ready to formulate an excuse.
No excuses. He's playing like
okay.
shit. He's
Yeah.
playing like shit.
And then Kyrie, who was in the prime. If I remember not, there was somebody I heard it on a podcast.
See, here we go. Kyrie.
I heard
in
on a
their prime.
podcast.
I
heard
preach. Mm-hmm.
EJ, I heard on a podcast one time. Somebody said Kyrie is the reason they won a championship in Cleveland.
He is 100%.
Where the fuck he at now?
I heard a step further. Someone say Kyrie's the best point guard in the game.
I've heard that. I've heard that on a podcast.
Heard that on the very same podcast.
I think Kyrie is the best point guard in the game.
He ain't right
I don't even think it's close.
He ain't right now.
Not at all.
I don't even think it's close.
Have you looked at Paul right now?
Have you looked at what? Have you looked at the stats? Like Kyrie. Listen,
I have looked at the stats.
I'm looking at him right now. Actually, I'm looking at him right now. Kyrie Irving, 43 minutes, 3 rebounds, 9 assists, 16 points.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other stat that says Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets 0-3.
Nasty.
Against an inferior team.
Listen, you losing a series doesn't dictate your individual greatness within the league. LeBron James lost and was still the best player in the league. Was he or was he not? Matter of fact, LeBron James lost 5 times and was still the best player in the league. Matter of fact, he lost to Dirk Nowitzki with 4 other Hall of Famers on his team and was still the best player in the league. Was he not?
I'm just saying this. Steve. Give
Chris
them
Paul,
all that smoke. You give LeBron.
Chris Paul played 35 minutes, 7 rebounds.
Who are they playing against?
10 assists.
Who are they playing
30
against?
points.
Who are they playing against?
Playing against the Pelicans.
Right. Okay, so there's my point.
Chris Paul's also 35 years old.
Come on, man.
Kyrie only getting
137 years old.
Kyrie only getting 43 minutes, 16 points.
Stop. Kyrie is playing against the defensive player of the year this year.
Marcus Smart.
What about KD?
KD's playing against Jason Tatum, one of the runner-ups. like these dudes. Here's the thing. No excuse. No excuse. Here's the thing with KD. KD only took 11 shots. You got to do better than that. You got to be more aggressive than that. Double team, triple team, whatever. You said it with Calvin Johnson. You say it with Calvin Johnson all the time, Gary. I'm covered when you think I'm covered, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm Calvin Johnson. And KD is the same way. 11 shots. Like, granted, he had 8 boards and 8 assists. So he was there. He showed up otherwise. But you got to take more than 11 shots. If you got to take 24 shots, if you got dudes like Trae Young taking 24, 26 shots a game to win a game, KD needs to take 24, 26 shots in the game to win a game. There's no reason Bruce Brown outscores you. You know what I'm saying? But here's my point with KD, which people don't understand. People are killing him and they're trying to throw him under the bus. And this guy, there's no way he's the best player. And, you got to discredit all of his life achievements. Here's the thing. This is the first time ever that we've seen KD fall off like this, ever. So if you're going to point out his shortcomings for this one season, you got to make sure you got to do it for LeBron all the times he had them shortcomings. You can't just be like, KD had that one season, so he's an average player, but be like, yo, LeBron got his ass spanked by Dirk Nowitzki by himself when he had Chris Bosh, Andy Wade in their primes, and It's okay. Just brush that off. It was their first year together.
Nah, I agree on that part.
Mind you, Kyrie just came back. Remember, Kyrie hasn't played all year. So
But
you're
this,
talking about
All
this,
year? What the fuck are you talking about? All year?
no. I'm saying he hasn't played the whole year. He hasn't
Oh,
played the whole year.
but
Maybe it
this
was
is
the way
what
I
I,
said
but
it.
this is what I
which means
said.
he should be well rested.
This is what I
Oh
said
boy,
would happen with
chemistry.
Brooklyn. That's what I said would happen with Brooklyn. I told you guys, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. They're two players that don't work for each other.
No,
That
in
team
this
plays no
at this
defense.
time, you know who's ready? Who's right this time? E was right. E was right in the sense that them trading
Jay,
Harden
That's what he really means.
to did I say J?
Nah, you
No,
just said
no, E. Eric. Eric said Harden going over to Philly was going to hurt Brooklyn more, and it did because they got 0 minutes out of Ben Simmons so far. So
but that
that
was
trade
obvious.
works.
That
But
was
that trade
obvious.
worked. No, because nobody knew Ben Simmons wasn't going to play. All we knew
He
he was
already
holding
wasn't
out,
playing though. He
right?
but that
But for all
okay.
we knew, he was holding out. We didn't know he had a back injury that was going to
Okay.
stop him from
To
playing.
to your point, right? True. But we also knew that this guy had not played the amount of games that he played. To have thought that that was a sensible trade to give a guy who doesn't have actual game legs the keys now to think he's going to come in and save you, knowing he's not that kind of guy, even when he's active, was
But they didn't need
stupid.
saving at the
Hold on.
time.
But it was stupid though, because Ben Simmons isn't that dog even when he played. So for you to think he's gonna
Mm,
come in and be this guy that's gonna give you such a boost when he couldn't do the shit in any other aspect when he had Embiid and all these other things and he was playing, that was stupid on Brooklyn's part.
well,
It
yeah, it
also
in the
was a
goes back to
playoffs,
them.
in the playoffs he
nah.
couldn't.
It,
But
It
he
was a
was
bad
great the
trade,
year.
it
Steve.
was a bad trade on their part,
And it's not even like a in hindsight it was bad.
it
Like
was
it
bad.
was a bad trade when it
No, it wasn't
happened.
a
In
bad trade.
hindsight, it's a bad trade.
No, no,
It
no,
was
no,
a
no,
bad
no.
trade.
No,
And the
no, 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 no.
picks.
From the
And then
player standpoint and for this year, it's a bad trade. But you guys are forgetting that they also got 2 first-round picks. And I know, EJ, you're going to say, well, they don't need first-round picks because they could win. And Ari's going to say, well, but if you win now, you'd be like the Rams and you don't need first-round picks. They got 2 first-round picks. They got him back. They got James Harden out of there who didn't want to be there in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they ain't gonna be lottery picks though. So it ain't really like it's gonna be that much. And then the other thing to that is and I had lost my train of thought, but you know, you're expecting this dude to come back and be at peace when you know that's not who he is right now. And he hasn't
how much
played.
how much have they lost by in each game? Do you have it pulled up? It's less than 10 points in every game. So what you're saying is Ben Simmons couldn't prevent from a defensive standpoint 5 points and have 5 points scored. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. Like there
That's
could have
really
been a
Let,
difference.
that's really only because Boston has blown the leads.
and
But
let me ask you the question this way, Steve. Is there a separate column for wins by less than 10 points?
No, but we're talking about
Okay.
Ben Simmons' impact. We're not talking about wins and
No,
losses. We're
no.
talking about Ben Simmons' impact.
I mean, but we are talking about wins and losses overall, though,
No,
right?
no, we're talking about Ben Simmons' impact
his
right now.
potential impact.
Yeah, right.
We
You're
again
talking about a guy. You said Kyrie ain't play all year. Ben Simmons hasn't played since last season.
Still, these games have been close. It's not
And
like they're blowouts.
but
So
if he
what I'm
comes
saying
in,
is that Ben
he's going to
Simmons
give you
could
what,
have
15
made
minutes?
he could have made a difference. He could have made a difference.
that and I
So
think that
and when
assumption is
and this is
crazy.
just this is the trade. This is and really if you think about it, what has Harden done? So I mean, don't get me wrong. Harden being there right now, they probably could be in the series, maybe even winning the series right now. But Harden, it's not like Harden's been lights out. He's been in the same realm as KD right now. 16 points here, 14 points there. Like he's not the Harden that people remember from Houston where he was
He
going
doesn't have to be.
35,
He doesn't have
14
to
and
be.
6.
He doesn't have to be.
He
He's in a
doesn't,
situation.
but you're saying that Ben Simmons does.
No, Ben Simmons has never been Harden. That's the point. My point is with Ben Simmons, we're only judging him based on what we know from what we saw in Philly. And even in Philly, he had Embiid, he had a different situation. Now, what these dudes were doing, what they're looking at with the trade was we're bringing Ben Simmons in. We know he hasn't played the majority of the year, and we're thinking that he's gonna have some kind of impact when he comes back. But that's the problem. You're having a guy who, regardless of the back injury, he's held out So his playing legs, are not there. Where he had an opportunity to maybe get some momentum going at the end of the season, he didn't do that. Whether it's for a real reason or a real back injury, we'll never know. But mentally, this guy is who he is, and if he comes into this series now in Game 4, if he makes a huge difference and he plays some great defense, then hey, then we're gonna have to put some respect on his name. But to think that he's gonna come in the playoffs with no regular season legs and do something, it's kind of crazy.
And I just would like to associate myself with EJ's comments just now.
Ben Simmons is not going to come in Game 4 and make a difference to this series because it's a 3-0 lead. If they do, it's going to be history in its own. But if he had played from the time the trade was made, he would have had at least 15 to 20 games
Yeah.
to get his legs under him. We know he's not a scorer. He's not a scorer. He can't shoot. But he was in the conversation for defensive player of the year. He's big. He causes a mismatch. Like, I'm not saying that they would be winning the series right now, but there could be a difference if he was playing. They're missing their third star. Like you got rid of your bench. Their bench is trash.
No,
Their
I,
bench
I
is just
I agree
you
with
know
you.
what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I mean the things again, what it looked bad on was that it wasn't trending in that he would be playing. And here's the other thing: you make this trade, and now you're looking to next. You're virtually looking to next year. And the problem with that is, oh, here was the other point I was gonna have. The Nets management has been messing this up from the beginning. You get Kyrie, you get KD together, right? And you get James Harden together. Instead of giving them an actual basketball coach with
Oh
experience
well,
who's going to
yeah,
tell them what to do and what not to do, they decided, oh, we're going to take Steve Nash because
right.
he's KD's friend and he's just going to let everything go by wayside and do what they do. So now you make this trade and you're basically saying, oh, we don't need James Harden. You know, you can say what you want about Harden. He doesn't miss games. Let's factor that in.
But you know what?
Well, we get rid of him.
Shitty coaches can win. We've seen it in Miami.
Yeah, but again in Miami,
Fuck out of here.
Ah,
Fuck out of
nah,
here.
but I
got
mean,
him.
on a serious note, you get rid of Harden, who gives you minutes,
Steve
whether
Nash
you
is
like it or not.
not the
Then
guy.
you
I
got
agree.
Steve Nash, who's doing nothing, and then insert Ben Simmons, who couldn't do it with Doc Rivers. You think he's gonna come in and be all world with no games? It was stupid. And now the problem you have going forward Now the problem you have going forward is can you keep this team together? Because with all the bullshit Kyrie's been doing, whether it's COVID, whether it's the fans, whether he's gonna have some other major epiphany by this offseason, you're not gonna be able to keep this team together. And you're gonna be looking at a situation where it's
Nah,
probably
they'll be
gonna
together.
be it's probably and the only way they really gonna be able to salvage it. I mean, if this LeBron shit about coming to Brooklyn is true, I don't know. But you know, the
No,
only way
LeBron's gonna wait to see who wins the championship first.
only way you're gonna be able to salve. I mean, you might be looking at a roster where it's only gonna be KD and Ben Simmons next year.
Nah, no, they're gonna be because Kyrie just resigned or he just extended because he
Yeah,
said he
but
wanted to be there.
he also did that in Boston, and then
Yeah,
Well,
forced his
I
way
hear
out.
you.
but we can't. So we could talk opinion, but we can't be like, well, what if like that's an extreme what if. That's not like a hey, what if Kyrie gets hurt? Like that's one thing. But you're talking about what if Kyrie decides he's gonna go off and then on a mental tangent and not show like that's he's told us he's gonna be there.
He did it
I was gonna say that's not a huge what if, like a mental kind of thing. Like, he's done that before,
several
multiple
times.
times.
They're gonna
That's
be
what I'm
together.
saying. That
They're
team
gonna
was
be together.
doomed from the beginning, man. Doomed from the
They're
beginning,
gonna be
and I'm
together.
glad.
You just don't like them because they're the team in New York right now.
No, they didn't have a team in New York. They'll never be. Never,
See,
never.
see. What were you gonna say, Vari?
No, I was gonna say I could see Kyrie being traded next year.
He ain't going nowhere. KD and Steve Nash are to blame for this. Kyrie came out the first few games and he was torching. This is probably his first bad game of the series. Um, it's for a guy who didn't play a full season. I get it; he should be rested, but you still got to get chemistry. You're still coming back at a high time in probably the highest time in in the season, which is playoff time, and you're playing against a team that's deep. Like they're a deep ass team on defense and offense. And let's not provide let's not forget to give credit where it's due. Udoka deserves all the credit in the world. So we're taking credit from Nash, but Boston didn't have this kind of defensive mindset last year. They didn't have this kind of mindset at the beginning of the year. They were losing at the beginning of the year, and people were like, "Yo, you got to trade a Jaylen Brown, or you got to trade Tatum. One of these guys, they're not going to be able to coexist." So for Udoka to be able to get it under control, get these guys playing together, and make them right now, man, they're a scary team. If they can play defense like this on anyone in the East, they're a scary team. They're a scary fucking
Yeah,
team.
I still got the way Milwaukee plays.
I still
I
got
don't,
Philly, but it's still, that
who
defense,
so
man.
who what are the matchups going to be next round? Does anybody know?
It's the winner of the Miami Atlanta series versus the winner of the Philly uh
So basically, Miami
Damn. So
versus Philly.
Miami's gonna lose.
yeah, so Miami Philly, and then the winner of Boston Nets versus the winner of Milwaukee and
Damn, those are two good
Oh,
series, man. Both of
ooh,
those are two good series. I like them both.
I got
The
Milwaukee. I
Eastern
got Milwaukee game 5.
the Eastern Conference playoffs are better this year for the first time probably ever or in a long time
Long
than the
time.
Western Conference.
Yeah.
Like these matchups are really, really good, man. They're really good. Um, so I'm still rocking Philly and Golden State as my favorites out of the East and the West with my basketball mind. And you guys see anything that's changed your minds? I think EJ, you were what, Phoenix and
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Do you
I think
think Devin Booker going down is gonna have any
it should.
yeah.
I would think it does. It may not though because they seem to, when he's out in games, they seem to continue.
they still win?
They
Yeah,
still have a good flow. They just lost what last game though, right?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And it's
yeah, I mean,
tied, isn't it? I think it's
tied
two
up now.
two.
Yeah, it's tied up now.
No, it's 2-1.
Oh, is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I got the bracket pulled up now.
Got you. Okay. How long did they say? How long Kyle Lowry's going to be out for Miami?
He said he's
Rory?
playing.
Yeah, he's
For
playing. It was
he
just
said
a
he's
game.
playing.
It was that game he didn't return.
Okay, so y'all should be all right.
He
Y'all are
said he's
playing.
Yeah.
Wolverine. And he's gonna play.
Y'all, yeah. I mean, y'all are playing against a dude who has a fucking infant scalp. Like Trey, Trey, Trey Young is he's cold. Like this
I
dude
had
is
to
cold
think about that.
when he wants to be, but he's not gonna be enough, man. You guys are
Yeah. And especially without Capella. Like that's the big thing
yeah.
for them. Two
Mhm.
things on this Miami series real quick. First, I was watching the game and they did an audience shot, and this shit was like precision timing, and I saw something walking by, and I was like, whew.
OnlyFans. OnlyFans. Like, what's her OnlyFans?
I was like, my word.
At the
Shout out to
game,
shout out to
Yeah.
the cameraman.
I was
the
like,
game?
yo.
Clearly.
Like, shout out to ATL. Like, my goodness.
clearly,
But
clearly, man. Sheesh.
but also, man, that last play, Jimmy, like I know Steve said whatever he said about Butler. I can't imagine a coach that's been a head coach for almost 20 years drew up a play that makes your star player shoot a 3-pointer when you're down by 1 point.
Falling away 3 point.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was, yo. But like that shit was ridiculous, man. That was just ridiculous. So hopefully they get
Told
this
you
shit
bad
together.
coaching, man.
What's
I
good with the
didn't-
Bulls series?
The Bulls series right now,
Steve loves
it's
Bulls.
2-1, 2-1 Milwaukee, and they play today at it don't got the time. They play today on ABC.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping Milwaukee
Yeah,
gets
man.
him up out of here quick.
That last play was similar to a lot of the last plays that we've seen while LeBron was in Miami. And we know LeBron is not clutch and he passes those shots and stuff, but it seems like Spoelstra, it doesn't seem like, all jokes aside, this isn't me calling him a shitty coach because I think he is a shitty coach, but But I
That
think
don't stop me saying he's a shitty coach, but he's a shitty coach.
I just think I think when it's a situation where there's one play call needed, I don't. Maybe he needs to ask some other people, like, hey, what's a? Because it seems like it's always ISO with him, and it works when you have a guy like a D Wade, you know,
Ray
and it
Allen.
even works when Ray Allen. It even works when you have a Jimmy Butler. But if Jimmy Butler is being double teamed, he needs to know what plan B is. Like once
Right.
you get it and you start moving to your right because you shoot off of your right, well, if there's another defender there, where does the ball go? And Jimmy Butler has the basketball IQ to know that. So I don't think that. I just think there might not have been a plan B. It was like, hey, we're gonna live and die with this because we feel like we could beat these guys anyway if we had to go
Right.
another game.
And I think when I watch that play, in my mind, I'm thinking like, why not go to Bam? Because one, Bam got handles, so he could take somebody off the dribble. Bam can shoot the jumper, or if there was what, like 5 seconds left, I believe.
Mhm.
So he's big enough to determine, do I need to jump up and shoot over somebody? Do I need to take it to the hole? You know what I mean? Like I feel like you could have got a better option going through Bam versus Jimmy.
Even
So
Hero, because Tyler Hero, I think, is just a better passer too. So
yeah,
he
and
might not
Hero
have been
actually
able to
was played
score.
well that game.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fucking Duncan Robinson, yo. Like that he's being on my goddamn nerve. He actually said something this series that I thought was, like you don't hear players say this, so I thought it was like, damn, like I'm surprised he said that, because I feel like we as fans feel that way. But he was like, that contract he signed is like fucking with him, you know.
Mm.
He was like his whole career, high school, college, even in the NBA, he's always been an underdog. He's always been hungry. And now they done gave him this contract. He's making $20 million a year. And he was like, he was like, that shit's like in his head. Like he was like, when
Eating
he doesn't
Chipotle
feel
every day and shit.
right. He's essentially, he didn't say this, but like with him saying like that shit is getting to him, I
Yeah,
feel like he's essentially saying, I'm not hungry no more. You know
Just
what
let
I'm
it
saying?
get to his head. Let
Yeah.
it get to his
yeah.
head, getting them black dude haircuts and running around them South Beach broads.
Right, right. When you listen, when your blend look like that, you know, he look like
Getting ones, you know what I mean?
he running around like Tommy from Power.
Yeah. He's like,
Hmm.
last season I was coming to practice in a Honda Accord. Now I'm pulling up in the range, like I
Right.
don't feel hungry no more, so
Yeah.
that
I don't
Hmm.
think it's not that he's not hungry. I don't think it's a lack of hunger. I think it's just it may be the sense of I made it. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I played my whole life for. This is what I grinded for. I grinded and I've made it. And so he just needs to refocus and be like, all right, I made it, but I need more.
yeah.
You know, I need more.
But yeah, like I said,
Um,
man, I was just shocked that he's like, like I feel like that's something like we would say on the like, yo, he don't look hungry no more. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And most of you see them in the interview, they're like, oh yeah, I'm still taking up 3,300 shots at practice. Woo, 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 woo. And we are like on the outside, like, man, I don't know, you know. But for him to come out and say like, yo, man, the
He's
contract
white.
is like, yeah,
He's white because
and
because
quite possibly he
the
probably didn't
media would
think
have
he
been
was a
like he's
20 million a
lazy.
year guy.
The media would have been like the fans
Yeah,
would be like he's lazy. See, this what happens when you get these entitled blacks money. He's white.
that's a fact.
White
he
people are like, oh, okay.
but he probably didn't think he was a 20 million guy either. Like, because listen, man, Duncan Robinson played good in the bubble, and actually, I think he played better in the bubble than he did last year, personally.
Mhm.
And I think the stats support it. Um, but I personally don't think he was a $20 million a year guy. I thought he was good. I told you, you guys had them two white boys when I said it, him and Hero. I like both of those guys. 20 a year for him is a lot
Yeah,
for a
but
guy
I mean,
that
also
only
I
shoots three.
agree. I agree that it's a lot, but I feel like the NBA contracts are getting just like the NFL contracts, where it's I mean, I saw a post on Twitter, and that shit, it was funny, but it was also extremely true. And it was like, it said, what the fuck did it say? It said defensive backs are now DBs are now paid like wide receivers. Wide receivers are now paid like quarterbacks,
Quarterbacks,
and
yeah,
quarterbacks are now paid like CEOs.
like the owners. Yeah, yeah,
It's true. It's
yeah.
true.
It's
Well, some
inflation,
of
man.
them, because some of them will take pay cuts and win and become the goat. Just saying, though.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We'll skip bingeables this week because we're already 2 hours in, and anything longer, pause. EJ's gonna have to chop. So, um, next week we'll get a double dose of bingeables, and any changes real quick though. Phil, you still think Phoenix
I don't know with
and
Devin Booker, man, but I'm gonna have to stick with my pick. I have to stick with it.
I
VP?
agree. I think if I think Phoenix survives this series, I don't know about the next round because looking at the bracket, next round they get the winner of Dallas, Utah
They
Mm.
could beat both of them
They
easily.
should be able to
without
beat
Booker.
both of them. They
Well,
should
Booker
be.
should be back
It'll be a
by that
series.
series
Oh, he'll be
Yeah,
okay.
they're
I didn't know
saying.
he'll be back.
because
Yeah, they're
he's
saying three
only
to
two
four
or
weeks,
three.
but it is a
Yeah,
hamstring. So,
yeah, that too.
so we
That
know
too.
that's nasty.
I still think Phoenix will beat. I tell you like this. I'm still pretty confident Phoenix could beat both them teams without him. Now getting past this round, I don't know, but Dallas has been shit all year. To me, I mean, the Knicks have been washing them. I judge a lot of teams by who the Knicks beat, and the Knicks been beating their ass all year. So them and Utah. Well, Utah, we came out neck 1-1 in close games, but yeah, I think Chris Paul, if they stay healthy, I think they could beat both those teams.
I would like to disassociate myself from what EJ just said.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Um.
all right, I'm
Okay.
Negrodamus
I still
each
got my
year.
teams, man. I'm still rolling with Philly and Golden State in the finals.
Yeah, I'm still rolling with the Heat, and I picked Phoenix, so I'm gonna rock with them. I'm not gonna change it. But with the Booker injury, I'm skeptical.
All right. Well, some games coming up here in the next hour. Look forward to watching those. Yesterday was a good day. 4 games back to back. Um. Without further ado, hand it off to our outro, the VP.
Hey, everybody, we definitely appreciate you guys rocking with us and spending time with us on your Sunday morning, afternoon. We definitely appreciate you taking the time out your day to do so. Like we've been saying always, man, make that phone call, send that text message, reach out to somebody, tell them how you're feeling, that you miss them, you love them, you just want to see how they're doing, you just checking in, etc. You never know how far that'll go with a person in these trying times that we're living through right now. So definitely do that. Again, we appreciate you guys rocking with us. You can find this podcast on all podcasting platforms. Just search Castworthy. You can also follow us on any of our social media. Just search Castworthy on Instagram. It's at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, drop us a comment, leave a like, subscribe, share, and follow. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Let's grow the audience. If you don't like the podcast, remember to just hit the dislike button twice. That really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. So we appreciate that too. And we hope that you guys enjoy your week. For those who listen live, we definitely appreciate you guys taking that time out of your Sunday. For those who listen once the episode is uploaded, we appreciate that time as well. And till the next time, we will talk to you on the next episode of the Castworthy podcast. We're out. We love you. Peace.